very minor thing. Good afternoon, today is Tuesday, November 4th, 2020, we are here for a town board meeting. As always, we will begin with the pledge, and Tim, can you please take the lead on that?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Tim.
In keeping with our tradition of having a faith-based invocation, today we have with us Rabbi Michael Roscoe, Temple Israel, Riverhead. Thank you for being with us, Rabbi.
He needs to unmute. Great. Can you hear us? Can you unmute? Lower left side. I see you speaking, you need to unmute. Lower left, where you see the little red mic, there we go.
There we go.
Thank you, and Rabbi, it's good to see you again. The last time I saw you was at your synagogue at a very well-attended meeting, and thank you for providing a prayer for us today.
Thank you for the honor. As we gather to perform the sacred tasks of government, we ask for blessing and guidance upon those responsible for the welfare of our community members. May they ever be mindful of the awesome responsibility of the welfare of all the human beings of this town of Riverhead, each one of whom was created equal to each other. May they be heedful that all are endowed with the imperishable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. May the citizens of all races and creeds forge a common bond in true harmony to banish hatred and bigotry, and to safeguard the ideals and free institutions which are the pride and glory of our country. Let us remember that no matter how divided we are and sometimes how uncivil we can be, when we are here, we represent our town. With a mixture of justice and mercy, let us act with character and conviction, listen with understanding and goodwill, and speak with clarity and restraint in the spirit of public service, even with those with whom we disagree. May we see the humanity and dignity of all people, for all of us descend from one common ancestor, regardless of race, ethnicity, status, orientation, and beliefs. May we remember the reverence to all creation and build a community worthy of every person. May our town council exercise just and rightful authority and administer all town affairs fairly, that peace and security, happiness and prosperity, justice and freedom forever abide in our midst. May our representatives discharge their responsibilities with honor and determination, and devotedly involve themselves with the needs of this community. May their wisdom equal their strength and their courage equal their responsibilities to advance and fulfill human welfare, so that we be an influence for good, uniting people in peace and freedom. And let us say, Amen.
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 Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Frank, and again, thank you, Rabbi. Before we get started, I have 4 announcements today. First, I want to extend an early and albeit unofficial, until certified by the Board of Elections, congratulations to Councilwoman Giglio, who secured close to 60% of the votes that have been counted in the election for State Assembly. Councilwoman Giglio has been an integral part of this town board for nearly a decade, and I hope, and I have no doubt, she will accomplish great things once she gets to Albany and will represent Riverhead. Congratulations again, Jody.
Thank you.
Welcome. I also want to extend an
wish you
early and unofficial pending Board of Election certification congratulations to former Riverhead Town Supervisor Sean Walter on his win for Town Justice. Sean, you will have big shoes to fill, left vacant by the passing of Justice Smith. But I have every confidence that you will be an effective and fair justice. We will be bringing you aboard as quickly as possible, and I look forward to working with you. Third, as most of you are aware by now, we remain under state of emergency. All public participation in town board meetings and public hearings will be accomplished via Zoom only. Accordingly, the public may watch and or participate in any of the town meeting events by viewing it live on television, on Channel 22, logging on the town Riverhead website, or using Zoom, and the credentials are also on the town website. Lastly, I want to make it note, we have received, the county has made the Riverhead warrant whole. They notified us a couple of weeks, and today, just now, we did receive the funds, and they will be electronically sent within a couple hours to the school board.
Good.
Okay, moving forward, can I have a first and a second to approve the town board meeting, minutes for the meetings of October sixth and October 20th?
So
So-
moved?
Second?
Vote please.
Yes.
Kent,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Giglio,
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
The minutes are approved. Should I just go right into correspondence and reports?
Yes, thank you, yes.
Sure. Under correspondence, there was a letter from Robert Dean, with his concerns regarding the Riverhead Water District surcharge. A letter from Craig Dahlgren expressing his comments on the special permit application of Long Island Solar Generation, also known as NextEra. Barbara Blass also sent a letter expressing her concerns on the special permit application of Long Island Solar Generation, NextEra. Under
Deborah?
reports. The building department submitted their October monthly report, $73,875.65. Town clerk, October monthly report, $12,839.25. And that's all I have.
Okay. Great, thank you, Diane.
You're welcome.
Moving forward, we have various, public hearings today. We'll now begin the, public hearing portion of the meeting. Today's public hearing was scheduled for 2:05. It is now 2:15. And we are opening a public hearing regarding, considering a bond for the purpose of the proposed increase and improvement of the facilities of the Riverhead Water District, being painted, plant number 10, water tank. Frank Mancini, can you please go forward and introduce this topic?
Hello,
Hi.
I'm Frank
Good
Mancini.
afternoon.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Frank Mancini, the Superintendent of the Riverhead Water District. This public hearing is about the bonding we need to paint Tank 10, which is located at 160 Sound Shore Road in Northville. It's a 1.5 million gallon ground storage tank. It was constructed in 1998. There's been no improvements or modifications made to it since then. Last year, we did drain the tank and do an internal inspection, a very thorough inspection that's above and beyond what we normally do, so that we documented all of its existing conditions. And we do that so we expose ourselves to as little risk as possible when we put out a painting contract. Because if there were some damage to the tank that we didn't know, and we hire someone to paint the tank and it needs like structural work, then you're looking at really big change orders. So the good news was there was no significant structural damage to the tank. But this map and plan, which is a miniature engineering report on the project, is available online so people can see it. The tank is orange because the coatings have degraded to the point where they're way past their life expectancy. And it's important that we address this tank now before it rusts anymore and loses any of the mass of the metal, because that would cause it to potentially fail in the future. Then we'd be looking at a replacement. So the most cost-effective thing for us to do is to maintain this tank by recoating it. So you sandblast everything off of it, and we use a 3-part epoxy system now that should last quite a while. There's some minor modifications we're gonna make that we gotta do to make it compliant to present-day conditions, like address the vent, slip-proof railings for the ladder. But other than that, it's really just painting a large tank. In this case, you could see it from the road, and it's surrounded by other large tanks that store fuel, and it's obvious that this tank needs this work. Are there any particular questions that you want me to get a little bit more in detail in?
And Chip, can you see if there's anybody, concerning, there's no one in the waiting room concerning any questions. The town board, you wanna make any comments on it?
No, we discussed it at a work session, I'm fine.
Yeah, I mean, Frank, you filled us in on everything in advance, really did a good job with that, so I don't have any questions.
Okay. Well, thank you guys very much, and don't ever hesitate to ask me any questions.
Thank you, Frank.
Thank you.
Thanks, Frank.
Thank you. Okay, we will now close the public portion of the work session on this hearing. We will leave it open for written comments until 4:30 PM on November 16th at the town clerk's office. Just a quick note, the normal 10-day period for written comments would fall on November 14th, which of course is a Saturday. So we're extending that to the next business day, which will be on the 16th. Everybody good with that, town board?
Yes.
Okay, so it's gonna be this 4:30 on November 16th. Moving forward, our second town board public hearing was also scheduled for 2:05. It is now 2:19 PM. Thank you, Devin. And we will open the public hearing on considering the adoption of the 2021 annual budget for the town of Riverhead. Our, chief, administrator, financial administrator, Bill Rothar is here with us to provide a brief overview. Bill, can you please come forward?
Good afternoon, all.
Good afternoon.
As the supervisor mentioned, it's a public hearing to consider the adoption of the preliminary budget. We had discussed this, the board had discussed this on Thursday, the 29th. I trust that all questions were answered then. Couple of things I just want to mention. Again, as I said last Thursday, in my 25 years of preparing budgets, this was one of the most difficult ones I've ever had to prepare. With all the uncertainty in 2020, specifically reduction in all of these revenues. Some of them we were told how much it was going to be. Some of them it's a stab in the dark based on what we've received this year. It was a very difficult budget to put together. I will say though, we had to cut $1.9 million in spending to stay under the cap. The town did that, and we did that by having a very conservative revenue flow for next year. So I'm confident that this is a very good budget, and if we receive more revenues than we're anticipating, it can only go up from there. One of the things that I want to do is also want to thank Supervisor's Office, in particular Lisa Richards, for going through this. It's a long, arduous process. My office also, my deputy, Kate Buffman, and Emily Toth, for the job that they did in getting this process done. It's typically a long process, but this year things were changing by the day, it seemed like. So I just wanted to thank everybody that was involved. And I guess I'll open it up for questions if anybody has any questions.
I think you should let the public also know that we renegotiated last year's budget at a savings of, what is it,
$684,000. This budget is $684,000 less than spending. We did have some help. We had police unions both renegotiate their contract to allow us to pay them out accrued time over a 4-year period so that we can defer some of those payments in 2020.
And in addition, it was even more difficult when we got notified 2 weeks before the budget was due that we would have to be paying into the retirement fund for our employees at a cost of
Yep, that was about $700,000-800,000 also.
on top of everything else that we were doing. So I personally want to congratulate you, because we spend many, many hours together, and you've met with many of the town board members, and people provided input,
And the department has understanding why their budgets got cut. I know they're not happy about that, but willing to do what they need to do until we get back to normal.
And again, if we get the $11 million that's in the HERO's bill for us, and I believe it's 11,600,000 or so, we're gonna reinstate some of these lines that were cut, and we also are scheduled to possibly, if it's approved, get funding next year for, I think it's $5,600,000. So we can stabilize and continue, but I think we did a good effort, and I want to thank all the department heads as we negotiated what had to be cut. Actually, we went into negotiation with every department. And thank you for your effort and for understanding, especially under COVID. And does anyone on the board have any questions before we open it up to the public?
Just to mention that it was also done without laying anybody off
That's
out of the
correct.
workforce, which to me was huge, so. I congratulate you on the budget, Madam Supervisor and Mr. Rothar. I think you guys did an excellent job.
I'm the chairman of the audit committee for Island Harvest, and we're just finishing up our budget, and like you said, it is challenging and arduous, and pouring through each line and finding every, detail. But you did a great job and certainly answered all of my questions in the past. Thank you, and great job to the whole team.
So I asked my questions already, and thank you for getting back to me. And once again, I think that you guys did a good job. This was a challenging year, certainly for a budget. And yes, I agree, I'm pleased that we haven't had to lay anybody off yet, because I think we have a great workforce in Riverhead, and I hope at some point we can add the personnel and code enforcement that, we have been discussing for a couple of years, and at some point, we need someone in planning. But for now, I think it's important that we keep the employees that we have. Did wanna ask and just clarify, I know you said that, for the stipend Geo gets for the municipal garage is in that budget,
That is in the budget.
but what you're saying, I think Bob said, is it's not designated for Geo? Do
No,
we have to
it's-
vote on that?
it-
Because it isn't, I thought it, cause like for Diane, it's listed under her, on the elected officials, it's listed under her.
Yeah, because there's a correlation between her being the town clerk and what she's getting her stipend for. This is a separate function of an elected official, so the board has to pass that resolution as a local law for each year that it happens.
Okay.
It was done, it's been done in the past.
I think he's doing a good job there. I think that the people that work there are happy with him, so I just wanted to clarify that. But all in all, I thought, everybody did a good job, and I'm appreciative of that.
Yeah, and concerning code enforcement, I spoke to Tim about it, that is a priority in planning. And again, once we're out of COVID and things stabilize, we need to go back to where we left off. Maybe not exactly, because we're gonna be at a new normal, but we're looking forward to that new normal. Great, thanks.
And I want to thank the supervisor, because I've seen fewer budget transfers in this year than I've seen in the past, being on the town board, and thank all the department heads for underspending their budget, and I know your budgets are being cut next year, so some requests are coming in to, spend some of that funding now for like new police vehicles and things of that nature, which if you're underspending your budget and the money is in the budget line this year and you need to spend it because your budget's being slashed significantly next year, I just appreciate all the department heads being conservative and the supervisor for being conservative and putting requests before to the town board for budget transfers.
Great. Okay, do we have any members of the public who wish to be heard on this?
We do not.
We do not.
No, we don't have anybody in the meeting room, supervisor, on this one, no.
Okay, perfect. Anyone else? Okay. It is, we will now close the public portion section of this hearing, but we will leave it open for written comments until 4:30 p.m. on November 16th. And again, the usual 10-day period falls on a Saturday, and we moved it to the next business day, which is November 16th. The next public hearing scheduled for today is at 2:10. It is now 2:27 p.m. And we will now open the public hearing to express citizen views on local housing and community development needs to be met with federal community development block grant funds. So do we have Dawn here from the CBA? Yes, good afternoon, Dawn.
Good afternoon. This is our annual public hearing for the board to hear requests from the community for community development block grant funds that come to us through Suffolk County from the Federal Housing and Urban Development Department. So we normally, this year we're looking to, looks like we'll have an estimated budget of about $201,000. Some portion of that goes to public service groups, as you will recall, and we hope there are some public service groups that will be presenting today. If not, we have quite a few letters from different public service groups requesting funding. And the other part of that normally goes to parking and pedestrian improvement funds. And these are all for low to moderate income areas. So I can hand out the letter request, and I don't know if there's anybody
Chip, we have a couple people in the waiting room?
Are those online, Jen? Those letters?
The letters are not online.
Cause Devin will probably wanna put those up.
Yeah.
Knowing Devin.
We'll put those up right now, no problem. Dawn, are we ready for the public to make comments, or are you still presenting?
We can do that, yes, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, great. So Chip, how many people we have in the
So,
waiting?
so we have 2 in the waiting room.
Perfect, okay.
All right, we'll bring the first one forward, which is Felicia Skikaza with the Riverhead CAP. There's just a slight delay, we'll bring them up.
Hi,
Hi.
Felicia.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hi there.
Okay, good. Hi, I'm Felicia Skikoza from Riverhead Community Awareness Program, CAP. And we are once again requesting Community Development Block Grant funds to help support our alcohol and drug prevention education, counseling, and community services for students and families in Riverhead School District. Specifically, we are asking for your continued support at Roanoke Avenue Elementary School, where we have a part-time social worker who provides individual group counseling, evidence-based substance abuse and bullying prevention, social skills groups, crisis intervention, family outreach, and resource connections. As you probably know, Roanoke Avenue School is a Title I school. It has a very high poverty rate. At least 2/3 of the students are at or below the poverty rate, and 83% of the students represent minority groups. It is the neediest, poorest school in the Riverhead town, and the Riverhead School District within Riverhead town. We have moved to a hybrid environment as well to ensure that our programs and services continue to reach Riverhead students, and have actually increased our services over the past year because the school hybrid learning environment has caused a lot of need for support through CAPS program, and the budget cuts for the Riverhead Central School District has decreased many programs. So we have increased our programs. So the students that are served by our social worker have experienced stress and trauma at an early age, which has been shown to be directly correlated with substance abuse beginning in adolescence and continuing through the lifespan. So CAP is all about prevention, and this is preventable. Connections for these families to community resources is vital for the children's emotional and academic success. These children will have a direct impact on the economic future of our town, and their success will have a direct impact as well. So allocating community development block grant funds to support these prevention programs and services is appropriate and an investment in our town's youth, family, and future. Lastly, as you were talking about your budget, our budget has also been undergoing some changes, so we really do hope you can support our programs and put some community development block grant funding towards these programs. We've already been notified by Suffolk County of a 25% budget cut in 2021, and New York State we expect steeper cuts from. And the children that are served in these programs, last year 80% came from extremely low economic background according to the HUD income limits, and 10% each from low and moderate economic backgrounds. Thank you.
Thank you, Felicia. Do we have anyone else? I think you said you had another one before we chime in.
Thank you, Felicia.
We do.
Thank you so much, and I had the opportunity to visit with you at an event recently, and I could see that you're doing some great stuff. It was very impressive, your presentation, and I'm sure that the community is probably gonna support you. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a couple more people in the room for
Yeah, and then
this.
we'll open it up to the board for comment.
Right.
Yes. Who do
So
we
next, we're gonna bring up Ian Wilder.
have? Ian? There's always a delay, so we'll wait for him. It's usually like a 30-second delay.
We'll just remind Ian that there's a 5-minute limit.
I don't think so. Yeah?
Yes, Ian, if you can, hear us,
He's muted.
yeah, unmute your mic, there we
There
go,
we
on the
go.
left side, and then audio.
There we
you
go.
go, perfect.
How's that?
Yes, perfect, good
Gotcha.
afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you Supervisor and members of the town board. I am a Riverhead resident, and I want to thank you on behalf of my fellow residents for keeping our government running during this unprecedented crisis. I also serve as the Executive Director of Long Island Housing Services. We are an over half-century-old fair housing and housing counseling agency. We do not receive funding through Riverhead under the CDBG grants, but we actually do for the entitlement jurisdiction, Suffolk County. We provide services to both counties, Suffolk and Nassau counties. If people are having a problem with housing discrimination, we are a private nonprofit that can take complaints and assist them. We also provide housing counseling in terms of tenants' rights information and foreclosure prevention. Please feel free to reach out to me or to my agency if any of your constituents are having issues with that. I regularly testify at the entitlement jurisdiction hearings on CDBG funds. A couple of things that I would like to mention based on having done those. I realize that these are difficult times, but care needs to be taken in terms of, oh, that sunlight's terrible. Let me move over a little bit. That should be better for everyone. Anyway, in terms of the notice for this, did not have the Zoom link attached directly to it. You had to figure out separately how to get to this meeting. Any notices in the future should have direct information attached on how to actually get to the hearing. Also, I regularly watch the media in Riverhead, and the only way I was aware of this is because I'm on the notice for the town. I did not see anything. There may have been an advertisement, but I didn't see any articles or anything in any of the Riverhead publications. It would be good if there could be wider disbursement that this hearing is going on. I have not seen the budget on how these funds are being spent, but as you're aware, the 1968 Fair Housing Act requires that all funds from HUD be spent in a way that affirmatively further fair housing. Mm-hmm. There is some misnomer that that is a new requirement. It is not. It goes back to the 68 Act. It is not anything that's been passed recently by any administration. Those were only regulatory mechanisms to help further that. I thank you for your time. My agency can be found at lifairhousing.org. I can be reached. My phone number is 631-567-5111, extension 314. And if I can be of any assistance to the town or your constituents, I'd be glad to help. Thank you, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ian. Maybe we can have Dawn Thomas come up and address how we advertise for these funds, how you spread the word through the community.
Yeah, and we don't have any letters requesting the funding from you, so if you could get us a letter also saying what the funds would be used for?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I wasn't actually requesting it.
Okay.
I was more interested as a town resident, and also speaking to the hearing in terms of how the hearing could be better available to the public.
Okay,
we're
so
actually not making a request.
So you're not requesting any funding?
Nope.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Ian.
Thank you.
So, as per our typical annual practice, the advertisement for this public hearing is published in the local newspaper for a period of 30 days, and in addition, it's on our website. The public service groups that we work with are very aware of the process. We work with them every year, and so I don't know if there would be anything else we could do to expand our communication to the public. It's pretty well communicated annually, and, you know.
Correct, and the purpose of having some advertisement on this is to inform the public.
Correct, yes, absolutely.
And we have chosen by resolution, this board, our mediums, our two local newspapers, who are responsible for reporting to the public, and that is our voice.
That's
And it is
correct.
on the website.
And it is also on the website.
That's also correct,
So
yeah.
we have taken whatever efforts that we can, and then it comes up before work session, right? So you
Yes.
have a third means, and that's why we're here today. Then, good, thank you, Dawn.
Yep, no
So
problem.
maybe, Dawn, did you ever think about maybe a short press release or something? The only thing I'm thinking is, if you didn't know to look, like if you were a newer organization, you might not know. Just a thought.
Certainly would be, if the board wanted to do that, it'd be up to the board if you wanted to do a press release on that. We don't do them from our office, so it, certainly something to consider if you wanna do that.
Right, and, we all charge my office with the press releases, and, we can send it out, Dawn, next year. We send it out to the Riverhead local. We don't have to send a press release to the, throughout, the state press on our local issue. So maybe you can make a notification to our newspapers to include it. And that will be covered, but it's also published in our newspapers. Again, so it's really redundant when it's published, and then you're gonna do it, So let's stay away from the press release, because that's more of a, it's to inform, a larger collective, group, and just send it again to the newspapers, and it probably will appear on the same issue that we tell them, to make a story out of it, so, but it's just another means.
Yeah, that sounds fine, I just wanna make sure that it's out there. I mean, certainly the people, we have some great organizations that come back year after year, I recognize them, and they're doing a great job, and certainly I wanna continue their funding, but if we ever got to add someone, it's an opportunity for people, to ensure that people that don't usually come might find out about it.
Okay, so we have just one more person in the meeting room looking to make comments, and that is Tia Fulford, and she's with the Butterfly Effect.
Tia, are you still with us? Okay. Tia, unmute your mic. Left-hand side?
She's unmuted.
Perfect.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
To everyone. I hope you guys are staying cool and warm. Congratulations, Councilman Giglio, on your win.
Excuse me, Tia, you're not loud enough. Can you be a little louder? It's hard to hear you, and I know you're not quiet.
I'm loud. Can you hear me now?
I know that.
I'm glad it came from you.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I said, good afternoon. Congratulations, Councilman Giglio, on your win. We're all excited for you. I am here representing the Butterfly Effect Project, and I am, thanking you guys for your continued support, not just from last year, but in every endeavor that we come to you. You guys have always did your best to help us in any way you can, whether collectively or individually, so we do appreciate and acknowledge and thank you for that. This year has definitely been a hard year for the Butterflies, as for everyone with COVID. We lost all of our major fundraisers, and with that, we lost all the money that we put out for our fundraisers. We also lost a lot of grant opportunities, because a lot of the grants during COVID quickly reallocated their funding to go towards a COVID situation, as opposed to whatever the grant was initially for. And then the money that we put out for the grant writers for that, we lost that as well. I am appreciative and fortunate to know that the information, the money that we did have, we were able to reallocate to give back to the community that does the most for the program, which is the Riverhead community. And we are excited that we were able to do just that this summer. In the heart of the community, I was really proud of our girls and of our Riverhead board members who stepped up to the plate to help us out there day after day, making sure we, not just that we got our needs, but our families got our needs. And we realize that's something that we want to continue doing. It's going to be harder this year than any year, because we struggle, like many families in the town of Riverhead struggle, because of the digital divide. As a not-for-profit, we rely a lot on donations ourselves, and even the computers that we speak on now are donated, and they're super old, but they were free, and that was for us, and it helps us out. The issue is, if you're having a hard time hearing me speak, it's because we literally had to put together the pieces to be able to utilize a Zoom, because our computer system does not have a microphone or a video camera or speaker. So we have to go out and kind of piecemeal these things together. And if we as an organization have to do that, I can only imagine what families are doing. So the question would be, what would we use the funding for, is to kind of close this digital gap that the Butterflies is facing, so we can continue our programming and ensure that our families are not facing that gap. We were able to, this year, to secure 20 laptops to give to the kids in Riverhead School District who are not able to do their schoolwork because most of the kids were using cell phones, or they were using one computer, and if you have 3 kids in 3 different schools on one computer, that means someone's not doing their work. So we were able to secure that. But for us as an organization, we still have so much work to do, and we have a lot of opportunities this year presented with us. But funding is, at this point, at its lowest, because we're unable to fundraise in the sense that other organizations can, because we do have that huge digital divide. And now more than ever for our communities, we need to make sure that we're speaking to our girls on a regular basis to make sure there's no isolation. We're gonna make sure that their schooling is going up. Right now, a lot of the kids are actually failing that's in the Butterfly. People who are straight A students are now getting C's, and that's bringing on a lot of anxiety. And I think it's the lack of, socialization, and also the lack of understanding what's happening, because they're doing their work on a 8-inch screen instead of in person. So we just really want to do our best to make sure that we can get our girls and our families and the community back to where it is, and we really cannot do it without your help.
Okay, thank you, Tia, and I understand your concerns, do you get any, county funds, any support from county funds?
Yes, and
Were
like.
they
for
cut
we-
also?
Yes, we get county funding too.
Okay, so what was it, like 25%? I know CAP was,
Yeah, so the funding was cut 25% for the 2021 year.
yeah, that's across the
And the
board.
funding that we got for last year, we actually used that funding to buy meats to give out during COVID.
Wow, okay, I understand your challenges, and thank you for all you do for the butterfly effect. Dawn, you handed out a few documents, letters today. So we usually like to give it to the press before, if possible. So can you ensure that this gets online today? The letter from, a letter that you wrote, Open Arms, Retreat Against Abuse, the Butterfly Effect, the CAP program, and Maureen's Haven. So we
Bread
can
and
get
More
all these
Kitchen, too.
documents, there's a lot of
Right,
documents, so
Bread
they
and
take a while. So
There's
Devin,
a
can you
few.
make sure that they get online and
Yep,
gives you
we'll
a copy?
We'll get that taken care of, no problem. So we do have somebody else in the
I
Zoom.
just wanted to ask, Tia, how many, participants do you have now? I was gonna say girls, but I think you have some boys too.
Yeah, so as of right now, we have 15 boys, and we have 531 girls actively enrolled in the program.
And,
And out of that number, 211 reside in Riverhead.
and how long has your program been going?
6 years,
6 years, how many did you start with?
8.
Pretty impressive.
And they're throughout
Thank you.
Long Island, correct?
I'm sorry, what happened?
Are they just in the township of Riverhead?
No,
Okay,
211 reside in the township of Riverhead.
okay. Good,
Thank you, Tia.
thank you.
Okay, so the next person we'll bring up, Chip, is Dan O'Shea with Maureen's Haven. And while we're waiting for that, we have 3 callers on the line. And if any of those 3 callers wish to comment on the CDBG matter, they should press star 9, which will raise your hand so we can see you. And then we'll know to bring you forward after Dan O'Shea's comments.
And Devin, they
Yes.
can also press the chat, right?
No, they can't do that over the phone.
Oh, they're on the phone, okay, I
Right,
see.
so for the
Yeah,
callers, they
got it,
have to hit star 9, and that'll alert us that they're looking to speak.
Got it, great.
Okay, so Dan O'Shea, can you hear us?
I am, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, but we can't see you.
Let me see if I can get my video on.
Hit the 3 dots and it says enable, video.
My video was on.
You-
It was on.
Okay. Chip, we have the newer version now of Zoom, right? So what does it take to enable the video? The 3 dots?
Yeah, I'm not sure why my video's not on. It was on a moment ago.
Is your camera covered?
I'm sorry?
Is your camera covered? On the computer?
Oh, wait, here it comes. There we
There
go.
we go. Okay, you got it.
Oh, yeah, fix your hair now.
Oh, yeah. I'll be
Good
honest, I'm in
afternoon.
New York today, so thank you for the opportunity to speak today in front of the board. And let me start by saying thank you to the town of Riverhead for their continuing and ongoing support of Maureen's Haven Homeless Outreach. Again, I'm Dan O'Shea, and I'm the executive director here. I did send over some more detailed prepared comments, but I'll be brief and I'll go through this pretty quickly. The town of Riverhead has been very generous supporters of Maureen's Haven, and as many of you probably know, we've been around for a number of years. We actually started in 2002. Just a quick update on what we had accomplished, say, in 2019, would say the previous year's funding. We actually were able to provide services to over 225 homeless individuals in our community. And we typically would run an emergency winter shelter program. And that last year we had over 3,700 beds made. A little bit briefly about Maureen's Haven. One, we're the only homeless agency solely dedicated to the homeless community on the East End. Our geographic territory is the entire East End, so we cover Riverhead, Southold, Southampton Town, as well as East Hampton. We do operate the day center, which is based here in Riverhead, which is 28 Lincoln Street. Here we do have a day center where folks can, use our services, restrooms, computers, and phones, things of that nature. More importantly, what we do provide is case management support services and linkage to other services. What we try to do is continually work with our guests to help them move forward. I'd like to kind of just briefly talk about, where we've been since the pandemic. Let me start by saying thank you, Supervisor, for your help with coordinating efforts back in March when the pandemic originally hit. The Supervisor, the Commissioner of Social Services, and myself and some of my board members worked pretty tirelessly for a couple of weeks there to get a number of my folks into some kind of emergency housing. It was a bit of an example, and thank you for that.
Yeah, if I could just interrupt me and just explain to the public, I got a call from your executive director and Amelia, and she told me that you had 9 vulnerable homeless individuals, and one had recent brain surgery, and that they were gonna be put in the park under tents. We just had this on COVID. She informed me that she had reached out to many organizations, the church is closed. This is where these individuals had lived overnight. They would sleep, and she contacted DSS and the governor's office, and no one was able to help her. It was a desperate call at 9 o'clock on a Saturday, and there were many calls back and forth. We tried to open and locate facilities, and I reached out to the county executives and I said, I need help here in Riverhead. We're not putting our citizens out there under tents. And by that evening, the DSS commissioner called me. The following day, the placement officer called me. And we were just addressing 9 of these individuals. Tuesday, the following Tuesday, we got a call and all 32 individuals were placed. And that's good work. It was great community work. The thought of having people in Riverhead, reporters flanking to Riverhead to take pictures as we begin shutdown, I was not able to sleep, and we did reach a great resolution, and thank you for the work. Your organization is very well respected, and we'll continue working together.
Thank you, same here, thank you. And again, you can probably see the Zoom call, I'm looking a little wolf aware. You are correct, that last couple of weeks of March was very chaotic for everybody.
Right.
We sort of, for lack of a better term, say slowed down in April, with the day center, like everybody else had restrictions on building and what you could do with your buildings. We actually stepped up our outreach program, so we're still working, just not as much in the day center. And this is a little more detailed in my report for everybody as well. So we actually continued working almost immediately. We did start a weekend lunch program that we continued throughout, up until last weekend when we started our emergency winter shelter program, which just started on Sunday. So if anything, Maureen's Haven, myself and my staff, once the pandemic hit, we actually continued to serve the community, and it was a full 7 days a week. And now that we're back to winter shelter, we're staying at a full 7 days a week. So it's been a challenge for us, as you can imagine. And just to kind of touch upon why we're really asking for the support with the Community Development Block Grant, is really that you know, as we go into our winter shelter program, in the past, we would have had, 20, 25 host sites, which have been houses of worship, that would have housed the volunteers, and they would have provided so many of the volunteers and the overnights and the food, and this year, we're down to about 10 physical sites. We have to abide by all the social distancing and room restrictions, so we have to not only limit what we're doing at each host site, but on many nights now, we have to carry at least 2 host sites to accommodate the 34 guests that we try to accommodate nightly. In addition to that, typically a lot of our volunteers would have acted as overnight hosts and overnight innkeepers. This year, probably about half that time is going to be Maureen's Haven staff. So it's going to be a fairly incredible cost for us. You know, we could have a number crunch. I think that Maureen's Haven serves a terrific mission, but I think at the end of the day, we also save taxpayers, both in the Riverhead area as well as the county, a tremendous amount of money. And we truly are a valuable resource. You know, this year alone, now that we're in 2020, just to touch on that, you know, we worked with at least 195 individuals. You know, many of them have been in the community. And, you know, if anything, we are starting our busiest time of year. So at this point, yes, I'm certainly looking for continued support and funding through the town of Riverhead, certainly to offset not only the winter shelter program, but, you know, our day center operations as well.
Great,
That's it.
Okay.
thank you very
Very
much.
good, thank you.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Yeah, we do have one caller that we're gonna bring forward, phone number ending in 4160, Chip. They've raised their hand, indicated that they'd like to speak. So caller ending in 4160, if you could state your name and hamlet for the record, please, and keep your comments to 5 minutes.
Hi there, I think it's my turn. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Oh, great. This is Chelsea Church. I'm with the Greater Talbot Pacific
I'm sorry.
Association.
I'm sorry, we just need your name again, we missed your name?
Softly.
Oh, okay.
This is Chelsea Church with Greater Talbot Civic Association. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Hello and all of the board, and congratulations to Councilperson Giglio on your win last night.
Thank you.
Today I have a list of about 7 questions. Should actually be under the 5-minute limit mark.
hold on, Toki, can you hold on a
You may not
second?
know where we are.
Toki, we are in the middle of a public hearing.
I'm sorry, I thought they opened it up for public comment.
Okay, so
I
can
come
you
back.
wait? Yeah, we're here to discuss the, block grants.
CDBG, yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
Federal Community Development Block Grant, so we'll bring you back
Yeah,
up.
I guess I'm on the wrong section, so what do
Okay.
I do to just go off and come back?
No problem, the next time we'll bring you up will be that time, okay?
What do I do technologically here on my phone so that I can,
Oh, we can
get back
put you
in
back
line?
into the
Okay.
waiting room.
What was the topic that you wanted?
No, it's okay, she wants general questions.
Okay, so that'll be at
So,
the end. Okay.
Chip, can you take her out and just put her into the, general question comment at the end of the town board meeting? Thank you. Okay, any other members wishing
Okay.
to speak?
Looks like that's it for CDBG.
Okay, does board wanna chime in?
Every one of these organizations are fantastic, they do a great job. We've supported, I believe, every one of these in the past. Dawn, every one okay. So I certainly have no qualms in doing that again. They've helped the community widespread, and we appreciate that. It's money well used.
And how are the allocations made, Dawn?
So typically, we have 8 public service, 7 public service groups, and so in the past years, we've tried to increase the amount that they get, so we ask for a little bit more. We ask for 8,000 per group. It's important not to add a lot of groups because that then dilutes the amount, and the amount that the county has asked us to give, it has to be an impactful amount. So we've been able to, we were, successful in getting that amount for the 7 public service groups in the past few years. And, so generally we recommend the same. and this year isn't the year, we thought it was appropriate to ask for additional, because it's just not a good year.
Did they cut the funding by 25% also?
No, they
Not for
haven't,
this
it's,
fund?
no, this is, you know,
Okay.
the same amount of funding we've been getting, more or less for the past
Okay.
couple of years. We are getting a separate additional funding through the CARES Act
Right.
for CDBG, and, so we've had some requests for that funding also, and we've talked about that in the past. This is separate, this is for 2021. And so going forward, we thought we would try to stick with what we had been successful with in the past.
Great.
So just, last year I had brought up about Church of the Harvest, because Gwen Mack was really serving a lot of people, I mean, particularly during COVID, she was really doing great, but I had a conversation with Dawn about it again this year, and Dawn, actually, you were able to secure some funds for Gwen, and I
Yes.
also worked with Gwen to show her how she could set up a GoFundMe, because she was serving a lot of people throughout COVID, and her shelves kept getting depleted, but
Yes.
I just wanted you to mention that you.
Yeah, so, she had made a request, a late request in the last round, and we were concerned about duplicating the request for this type of service that she was providing. So that was food pantry, and we have, Zona Stroy at, Zona is Open Arms. And so we did not want to duplicate the request, because
Right.
it makes it unlikely that someone will get it. And so, we had additional and different funding, and also the funding that we are, administering for CDBG, it's complicated for reimbursement. So there's a lot of paperwork, a lot of documentation of hours of, you know, all the expenditures. And so, it's complicated for us to add someone new who hasn't really done that
Well, the
before.
point just the point I was trying to make
But
is
we, yeah,
that
we
the
were.
issue came up, but I know that you worked with her.
We worked with her,
That's my
and
point.
I think she was very happy. In fact, the funding that we were able to get for her was a little bit advanced, of the other funding that she
Oh,
was
good.
requesting time-wise. And she's been great, and we love working with her, and I think that was an effective solution to a difficult
Yeah.
problem, so, yeah.
Right, that was
Mhm.
what I wanted to say.
Okay, fair enough, thanks.
And Gwen is also part of the LEAP, Riverhead LEAP, so, which is
Oh,
good.
is she? That's
Yes,
right.
we work with her,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay.
Yes, perfect. Anyone else on the, in waiting room, Chip? No? Does the board wanna add anything further?
No, all great organizations, and especially during these times, they're very necessary.
Okay, perfect. We will now close the public portion section of this hearing, but we'll leave it open, for written comments until 4:30 PM on November 16th at the town clerk's office. Again, we are extending the closing date, to 12 days because, the 10th day falls on a Saturday, therefore.
Madam Supervisor, I
It's the
think,
next business day.
for the purposes of this one, the comment period's gotta stay open for 30 days.
Oh, in this
because-
one?
Because of the
Do
statute.
you have a calendar, anyone? Or what's the 30 days? Okay, retracting the statement here. Thank you, Bob.
Second? No.
Okay, so it looks like 30 days. You want to take it down to December 4th, which is Friday? So close of business, which would be 4:30
Okay,
on December 4th.
Can the clerk make a notation in that effect? Okay, anything else? All right, moving forward, the last public hearing scheduled for today, the time now is 3:03. And we are it concerns the consideration of appeal of denial of the wetlands permit to construct a single-family dwelling at the premises located at 48 Willow Street in Akabog. Today, we also have someone to interpret the minutes for us, and, we're gonna open this up. Bob, can you come forward and present the issues here?
Sure, you want me to come from the podium, or you want me to speak from here?
I think we can hear you from there.
Okay. While I'm making some initial comments, I do want to note that the applicant, which is Phoenix Home Buyer LLC,
Okay,
they are
hold on,
present.
Bob, excuse me, can you sit at the blue tape,
Well, they're together.
Marriott.
Yeah, it's okay, we're in a
Okay.
public setting.
Okay.
So blue tape seats in a public setting,
Yeah,
okay, and that's why we have the tapes on there, we have to practice social distancing, and, okay, great.
All right.
Thank you.
thank
Okay.
you. So, this matter is to hear the appeal of Phoenix Home Buyers LLC. If I get something wrong, I'm sure they'll, alert me to it. They are appealing a decision, as the supervisor just read. It's concerning a location known as 48 Willow Street. The tax map number is 0600-871-14. Our GIS indicates the property size to be about .24 of an acre. It's currently listed on the assessment records and under our GIS as resident vacant land. In connection with this hearing, we did place on the town clerk's site, in addition to the public hearing notice, 4 other documents. One was the CAC resolution, which was dated March 13th, 2019. That was a 6-page determination, which, for reasons set forth, denied the wetlands permit pursuant to Chapter 295. The second document was a CAC memo, which was from the chairman of the CAC. That document is dated March 14th, 2019. The next document is a letter from Brad Hammond from the building department. Under the applicable statute, Chapter 295, he had the ability to either choose to accept the findings of the CAC, deny them. He chose to accept them and advised the applicant of his findings. And the last one that's up on the site is a survey that's dated November 30th, and that's 2016. It was last dated that date. I am going to ask the board if they would allow for, there was another document, it was too large to email, and I do not believe the applicant will have any objections to it. It's a wetlands investigation report. That wetlands investigation report was dated August 31st, 2018, and that was prepared by Charles Voorhees of Nelson, Pope and Voorhees. And I'd like to make that an additional document that will be part of today's record.
Okay, so Devin, you'll provide the office a copy?
I'm going to give it to the Madam Clerk. I think she'll probably, I'll give it to her in a binder form so she can scan it. Every time I tried to send it over by email, it would not allow me to do it.
Diane, would that show up on the,
I'll try, I think so.
internet tonight?
I'll try.
Okay, so we
So
we
if I
have
may
that.
approach the town clerk and just hand that over to her.
Sure. Bob, I was wondering, wouldn't Voorhees send us a copy of that through email, an electronic copy?
We could probably get a copy electronically, but this was part of our CAC record. It was
Right,
already on
okay,
record.
and
This
it's
was part of the CAC findings.
Right, and it's also evidence for.
Correct.
Right, so we need to
Correct.
bring it in, good.
Just as you will see from the Nelson Pope Voorhees document, when you do have a chance to review it, we're not dealing with the DEC question. The applicant did provide through the Nelson Pope and Voorhees report proof that the DEC had determined that it was non-jurisdiction for tidal wetlands and that there was no presence of freshwater wetlands. In addition, their exhibit does show that they received a Board of Review approval from Suffolk County Department of Health Services for the construction of the single-family house. The wetlands report did identify wetland species, which are more fully set forth in that document, which were obligate as well as facultative. So again, that report we're asking to be made part of the record.
Okay. Great, is that it, Bob?
That's it for me, and I suspect Mr. Schroeder from
Yes.
Phoenix
The
Home Buyers will
applicant,
want to
yeah.
make a statement and a reason why he's appealing it and asking for the board's consideration.
Okay, so sir, before we begin, you need to state your name, your hamlet, and also, Bob, he's gotta be sworn in, correct?
This particular Chapter doesn't say he needs to be sworn in.
Okay, so
We
you-
can if you want me to have him sworn in.
It's fine, we don't have to go, I'm just making sure that we follow the protocol. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Ken Schroeder. I'm with Phoenix Home Buyers. The property is listed in Aquabog, but I currently live in Mastic, New York. It's 3 years that we started this process, and hopefully this is where we're gonna come to the end shortly. Yes, the wetland investigation report was done by from Mr. Voorhees, and we don't have an issue. There was other things that were put into that we need to kind of take note of. My biggest thing here is that, and again, we keep on hearing from certain people that, oh, it's nothing to do with your property, so don't bring anything else up from the town, any precedent that's been set or anything else. So we've had that numerous times that we've said, this property here had this, and you didn't do anything about it. Well, you know.
All right, so we're not gonna sit here and point fingers, you're here on.
No, I understand that, but it makes a big difference.
Let me just clear this, okay? We're here, you're here, you're asking for some type of, ruling on your personal permit, and now you're saying president in the town and whatever. If you have any complaint to make to us, we are more than receptive. This is a public hearing.
Got it.
And it's based on this application.
Right.
And we are gonna stay with that, so.
Easy enough.
Okay?
Can I just say that the wetlands investigation, says that it was man-made. This wasn't a natural
Okay.
occurring wetlands.
Right.
There's a
Yeah,
driveway
can you
that-
state your name
Oh, I'm
and your
sorry,
family? It's
Carolyn
okay.
Patterson, also from Mastic.
Just
speak to the microphone, please. Thank you. Carolyn Patterson from Mastic also.
Okay, and we'll listen to everything you have to say here, but it needs to be directed to here. There are avenues to addressing anything else.
Right, we're trying to get a building permit.
Okay.
And we were
so-
denied a building permit because we are in a wetlands area according to the Riverhead town maps. The problem with the town maps is I think that the only time it's ever been seen by anybody outside of the office, because we had asked at one point when we went to go build, if we could go ahead and if there's any maps or anything, and they said, no, you're not allowed to see them. So we said, okay, and then we asked one of the girls in the office, and one of the girls in the office went ahead and said, this is a buildable lot. So we continued with the process of going through everything, getting a ZBA approval, which again was another issue with, we needed to add another window on the house in order to get ZBA approval. Has nothing to do with setbacks. That whole area in there is, really, no one bothers to look at. It's like no one bothers to take a look to see if anything's going on in there. One of the things that happened was this driveway was put in, starting about, I think it was 2004 when it was started, which borders our property,
Who put the driveway in?
the owner of the property,
Okay.
people all the way down by the beach.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
it's got,
different owners,
yeah, on
okay.
one of the maps, you can see there's a driveway that goes all the way down.
Just for the record, it's to the east of the property, and it runs from Peconic Bay Boulevard down to the property that's on Peconic Bay itself.
Right.
So it's the lot that's, it's a road that's just easterly of your subject property. That's the
Well,
road.
it's
you're
not a
talking about.
road, it's a driveway.
Driveway, I meant, yes,
Okay,
yeah.
because we want to make sure that it's a
Yeah.
driveway, because the reasoning is he never got a permit to put this thing in. And when it was put in, what ended up happening was he bermed it up so high that there was no water runoff from my property. Our property's at the end of the street, and at the end of the street is where all the water ends up going to. And then what ended up happening as well, the person who complained the last time we were here, our neighbor at 46, he also bermed up his side of the property to put trees on so none of the water would come into his property. So what ended up happening is we're now landlocked between a driveway that should never have been put in and other people berming up their property. And again, when you go to look at the Nelson Pope and Voorhees, they all say, and there's 4 other reports, we had it delineated 4 times. Finally, it came out where we had to have it delineated because that's what we were told by the CAC, get it done. Just do it, and then we can move on. Because they weren't budging, they weren't going anywhere and giving us anything. And that's why it took so long to get through this process. And then what ended up happening was, he comes out and he says, this is all man-made. Now,
Who
if you-
said this, that was not?
Voorhees, it's in the report.
Okay,
That's-
and do we have a copy of the CAC report?
Not the CAC, the investigation of why it was.
It's the report that I just asked to be made
Right.
part of record today. So this report that Mr. Mr. Schroeder's referring to was just made part of the record today.
That's the one, okay.
Yes.
And so you're saying there was an investigation, that's the same thing? They're calling it different things?
Well, what happened was there was a request made for wetlands delineation
Correct.
report to be made. And I think the CAC resolution speaks to that, whether Mr. Schroeder agrees with the factual determination, but that 6-page report recites the history of the requests. There were prior reports made by others that are contained in the Nelson Pope Voorhees report, which concluded there were no wetlands, although there were wetland indicators on the property. There was Phragmites and other wetlands plants on the property. At the time this report was prepared, as I said, Mr. Voorhees determined that the following were present on the site: Phragmites, path rush, blackgrass, spike rush, Canadian rush, goldenrod species, and Japanese knotweed.
Okay.
Okay, so do you have a current New York State DEC permit?
We don't need one, we have a,
I mean, the non-jurisdiction letter, you have a
Yes.
current?
yes.
It's also part of Nelson Pope Voorhees report.
Can I just add one more thing that is in the Voorhees? We came down and asked if there was a culvert on the other side of Peconic Bay Boulevard here. We were told no. Mr. Voorhees got in his waders and went out there and.
Bowman, Mr.
Oh, Bowman. Took pictures of the culvert that had a pipe running across our property to the other side of that driveway where there is definitely wetlands. And when they put that driveway through, they broke that pipe. So that's also adding.
Right, and that's why when you start looking at some of the species that are there, they are exactly the identical to the ones that are on the other side of the Peconic Bay Boulevard, because they traveled through this pipe, and of course the pipe got broken.
Right.
The other thing I want to mention
Pipe
about
is
all.
that?
Sorry?
Whose pipe is that?
It was done by the town.
By the town of Riverhead, so it was a pipe to get the water off the road and then divert it
That's
into the river?
correct. That was the plan, and back in 1979, when they actually did the whole wetlands mapping, it actually states that it goes under the road and into 4310, which is the property which is on the eastern side of the driveway, not on our side, the other side. So it kind of went through our property underneath where the driveway is now, but when he went ahead and put the driveway in, that's when he broke it. So
We found it.
we found it. Okay, so that's one thing. And then, one of the things is that even though Voorhees ended up doing the delineation, we had a couple before that. And everybody also said, yeah, now there's, there is species of plant life there, but that's where it came from, across the street. Mr. Bowman ended up putting in there saying that it's man-made. He went out and waited. We actually had the delineator of Glenn Just, and Glenn Just at that point, he actually put on the map where there was a line for where the wetlands had stopped. He did delineation on our survey, but the survey wasn't accepted. Now, Glenn Just was doing a whole bunch of property for the town of Riverhead, and all of a sudden now, because it's our property, the town didn't want to accept his delineation report. Okay, so that was one thing. We had Surfside, which is the Daphne, who was from Southampton. She was their person that did their delineations. So we had, like I said, we had 3 or 4 people come out and delineate the property.
Do you have a survey a prior survey from 1979? Because the delineation, if it's there.
No, there is, the only thing that the town has is this map here. Okay, and it's little bubbles all over the place. And this is the 4310 where that pipe was supposed to go. And then there's a little piece that's up about where it says 4309, which is supposed to be on this map, is supposed to be here. But it's not. If you look at the maps, the 2 maps don't line up. The actual 4310 is on the east side of the driveway. 4309, according to this, starts at my property and goes up to Peconic Bay through another piece of property. But yet, when you look at it, it's not in the same pattern as what's on the actual 1979 mapping.
Since you are identifying a map now, it becomes part of the record.
You guys have all that stuff.
Jeff, it's okay.
Okay.
We need to let the public, it's a
I'm sorry.
public
I'm
hearing,
sorry.
and we need to notify the public. So Jeff, can you get a copy of that done and keep it for our records?
We'll have Devin put it online, maybe?
Yeah,
the
have
other
Devin put it
report.
online. You wanna grab that, okay.
And so that's where we kind of have this argument about it, because everything says that, and now we get it, you know, that says that it's wetlands and all that kind of stuff, because the map came out of somewhere. Prior to us starting the process, when we were looking at purchasing the property, there was I forgot what street it was, what's the name, property name, but anyhow, on the other side where the driveway went through, Mr. Smitelli was given permission to build a two-car garage on wetland property. Now, he ended up getting a letter of non-jurisdiction from DEC, and that letter was given on 10/24/12. Now, again, I foiled Mr. Smitelli's property. So on October 24, 2012, when he was gonna go ahead and build his garage, he had gotten a Department of Conservation letter of non-jurisdiction. Now, this letter I have in front of me, which is Resolution 2016-06, that resolution is from the CAC, and not anywhere on this does it say anything about you're in the wetlands of Riverhead. Nowhere does it say in there. It just says 4 things that they need to do in order to get through this, and everybody voted yay, they can go ahead and they can build. Problem is that there's a letter, another map here that I have, and they can take copies, where it says that it was okay to fill in the property area by the DEC on 4/23/13. How can the DEC give permission on 4/23/13 when they gave a letter of non-jurisdiction a year earlier? So they don't have the permission to give it. That has to be the town of Riverhead's point now to take over, because that was a town of Riverhead 4310. What is it, 43? Yeah, 4310 on the wetlands map. So somehow in 2016, when we started our process, they were starting to build. The town of Riverhead didn't even look on any town map to show that they were in wetlands to get permission to build a 2-story garage on that property. And it's smack dab right in the property. When you look at the map, where it was built is right in wetlands. And nobody had bothered to look, CAC didn't bother to look. So that's why when we started saying, where'd this map come from? Nobody seems to use it. 1982, the property to the north, Bill Chmielewski. He built his house. None of his surveys have anything about wetlands on it. So our big thing is saying, you didn't let us build because of wetlands, but you let everybody else build around us. Even the guy next door, he put a deck on. No one bothered to care that he put a deck up in wetlands. So this is we did everything straight. We came to the town before we bought the property, asked all these questions, told we could Emily said we could build.
She said if it's not a buildable lot, the town will own it, is exactly what she told me when I came and asked her.
And the driveway, and the reason why I know that, the driveway,
Moved from building over to account.
we have no files listed at all for that driveway. There's nothing on that whole piece of property that's in the town. I foiled it, and it says, no files. So everything, and that's what
What's the
caused
address
all.
of that property?
I'm sorry?
The address for that property.
Let's see.
Who knows?
No, it's gonna, I'll give you it's 600-87-01-21, and the other piece of the property was dash
So
25.
that's 11 Willow Street.
No, this is,
He gave the tax map number.
I got it. S, Suffolk County, 0600 087 0001 00021 000 is associated with 11 Willow Street.
Willow Street, there is no 11 Willow Street.
You just gave the tax map number.
No, I understand, but there's no 11 Willow Street. That's what I'm saying. That's why there's probably no files on anything, because when I put it in, see, I'm a real estate agent.
Yeah,
So
so
I
am
have
I.
access to
So am
all
I.
of these things.
Yeah, okay,
So
forget that.
I can get the thing, and that's what I'm saying. So
Okay.
we foiled it, and that's what came out. And one of the biggest things that I keep running into and talking with people and saying, when you start looking at what wetlands are really for, there's a certain guideline according to the Department of, Army Corps of Engineers. It says this is what wetlands are supposed to do. They're supposed to help species live, they're supposed to take off drainage and all. And the only reason why it's where property taken off drainage is because they built things around it to stop it from going anywhere. You know, and then, like I said, we had so many issues about, and I talked to, even with the CAC, what do you want us to do, what are you gonna do with the water when you have to pump out to put concrete in? I said, I'm gonna put it on my property. Oh, no, you can't do that. But meanwhile, the guy who did the other house down the street went ahead and I asked him what he did with his water, and he says he pumped it into the street. Which, where did it end up? On my property.
And he built his house after we even started this
Right.
process.
So, I mean, no one
He's the
seems to
last
be
one.
checking these things, and I know it's the town, but
So that
we,
was in 2014, right?
I'm sorry?
No,
The other house that was built?
Oh, the one across the street from that.
the garage.
Yeah, from what I understand, that property closed, they closed on the purchase of a vacant land with all permits in place, including CBA setbacks to impervious areas. Suffolk County Health Department variance were also secured prior to closing, and that was the condition of the contract, so.
No, I'm not
Yeah,
just,
so they closed with all the permits in place.
Correct.
You, unfortunately, and under these circumstances, you closed on a purchase of unimproved land with no permits. Thereafter, you secured, a letter of non-jurisdiction from the DEC, and you didn't get approval from the CAC, the CBA, for setbacks, and impervious areas and variances from the health department. So these are two very distinct
No,
properties.
I wasn't
One
trying.
had all the permits in place, it was the condition of when they closed, so now you close without any of those conditions, so.
Yeah, but he has everything that he needs.
14
The only thing that
right.
he needs is CAC,
Well-
and then he can build the house. He has DEC.
I
he
couldn't
has
get
health
past
department.
CAC because CAC wouldn't let me do anything.
get health
14 Willow
department?
Street and the one across the street owned by Higgins.
Yes, they said they got health department, but one
Right.
person needs to speak at a time.
Yeah.
So-
Did you
so-
get health department?
He has Health Department Board of
Okay,
Review.
good.
I
That's
do,
part
yeah.
of, that's
I
part of
just had
Nelson
to
Pope
extend it.
Voorhees report.
One person at a time,
I'm
please.
sorry.
We have a court
Right,
reporter
there's
here,
other
so
people.
when he's talking, you don't talk.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so let's move forward. So we just wanna make sure that we understand one property. So the difference between these two properties are the CAC permits. So you are really looking to address the CAC?
Well, we're trying to get a permit.
And,
Yeah.
and I have some questions too.
Yes.
Sure. Okay,
He's
so
trying to
you
get
can finish.
CAC. CAC denied him, so the route to overturn that is to come to the town board and ask the town board to
Correct.
overturn the Conservation Advisory Council decision.
Okay,
So.
so you wanna, let him continue then, and then we'll go back to questions.
Well, it was a matter of that, the 14 Willow Street, and we knew that that was not anywhere near any type of wetlands, even title, all that kind of stuff. But the point is, they own both houses, and like I said, when they built it, he had to dig out the thing, and we were getting grilled on everything, and I guarantee if I look through the tapes of when they came here to do that, and he had to dig out to put the concrete down 4 feet, and he was asked, what are you gonna do with the water? I don't think he was ever asked that, because you have to suck the water out in order to put the concrete in. And when I asked him when he did it, he says, I just put it out into the street.
Right,
Now-
we had looked into getting tanks, to put it in tanks, and, you know, all this, and then he calls the guy who did that, and he's like, I pumped it in the street, and I was like, what the heck?
So, it seems like even with the CAC, with everything they tried to do, they tried to stop us every single way, and we came up with every single, I mean, we even came up with a planting schedule with plants, and how we're gonna put plants and trees and all that kind of stuff to take care of it, as keep it as a wetland. We were gonna give up a certain part of it to make sure that nothing gets over there. But they didn't want to accept anything. Every time they said, well, what are you gonna do about this? We came up with an answer. What are you gonna do with this? We came up with an answer. And this was all done by Chick Voorhees, who did a lot of this stuff for us. And, you know, he's a person that is very well respected in the trade. And the
Yes,
thing
he
is
is.
he has said numerous times that, listen, I gotta do what I gotta do. And I said, yeah, you have to, because I can't move any further into, unless we had that delineation done, we would never even be here right now. We'd still be arguing with the CAC. And all we're looking for is the same type of, I guess, latitude that other people have gotten without doing things. I mean, I'd love to have that driveway ripped up and see where the water really goes to. But the problem is, it'll flood out the other side,
Right.
you know, and the whole thing with that is, like I said, you let somebody else build prior to us on wetlands without even one word in the CAC to say anything that, did you go through wetlands? There was no wetland map even brought to their attention.
Can I say one more
Yes,
thing?
go ahead.
Also, when we went to the ZBA, before we even got there, because we know the drainage stops at that driveway, we were already thinking, could we put the wells, what could we do to mitigate the water from everybody else, so at least it goes somewhere? So, I mean, we have tried to do everything step by step, the right way, follow the rules, and it seems like we get knocked down every time.
And, you know, the town probably doesn't even know this. There's a pipe that someone dug from Willow Street all the way out to Peconic Bay and busted into the side of the drain there so the water would drain out to the street instead of onto Willow Street. So if you ever look up at that, you go right out to the drain that's out there, you'll see a hole in the drain which has a pipe coming from Willow. So these are things that, and when I even asked the engineer, the town engineer, I said, by the way, are there any, what do you call this? Culverts. Oh, there's no culverts in that area. Well, we found two.
Right.
So it seems that even the maps from Riverhead are not up to date. And it just annoys me is that every time we go ahead and we did everything in order that we were supposed to. You know, people in that whole neighborhood, oh, they put all new driveways in, they did this. They're not getting permits to do these things. You know, they're digging up, bringing in soils. You know, you don't have to bring soil into an area. But, you know, for them to go ahead and the town not to say, the CAC not to say anything about Mr. Smitelli's, which is now owned by another doctor's thing, the rules that they set up. I mean, he's now using it as a business. Now, I don't know about that, but he's got a whole gym in there that he has people go and die. It's a doctor's place, and he's got a whole gym there. So, yeah, there's no, I wouldn't say yet, it just seems weird that you'd have air conditioning on the second floor when you're not allowed to have anybody even living there. It's for storage only.
Right.
So, you know, he's got 2 units in there, one for the upstairs and one for the downstairs. But it just seems like no one checks up on these things, you know? And we went ahead and I put in complaints on people doing things. And not once, we had, what was there, a locust.
Yeah.
We went down the street, there's locust, whole bunch, lawn was ripped up, all this kind of stuff was going on. I come here to complain, well, we'll go take a look at it. That was 6 months ago, it had to be more, it was before COVID, I haven't heard anything.
Nothing.
I mean, the object is that, why do I give my phone number if you're not gonna go ahead and give me a call and say, okay, we took care of this? It just seems that I know that the areas and all those areas down in there, even on Bay Avenue and all that kind of stuff, I'm sure there's a whole bunch of things going on the town doesn't know about. But I just feel that now all of a sudden this map comes out, and the only time that anybody's ever seen this map was when it came to us.
And that was from who, the map?
That was from CAC.
To be exact, it's a 1979 wetlands map, so I'm not sure why it's all of a sudden popping up, but we've been all over, so I'm gonna have a suggestion. Since you are pointing to other properties that you feel are similar, can we get a list of those from you in writing as to why they're similar? Whether they are within a designated wetlands or whether they're within a designated adjacent area to a wetlands might be relevant to the question, so, which seems to have been glossed over a little bit. I'm also finding the comment that Emily told you that the town would own the land, because we do have a letter from you previously where you stated, don't worry, it's a buildable lot, quote, end quote. There was never any mention that the town's going to own it, so I find that to be a little bit of an embellishment.
There's
and
an email from the town that says, don't worry, this is a buildable lot?
No, this is their comments of an oral conversation they had with Emily. There is no written documentation.
From Emily to them.
Correct.
Right. One day when I was in there.
This was an oral discussion.
Right. One day when I was in there, I said to Emily, I don't know, and she was like, don't worry, it's a buildable lot. If it wasn't, the town would own it, is what she said to me.
Again, it's not in this letter from Mr. Schroeder.
That's fine, we accept
Does it really
so-
matter? Hold on, let's stay focused on the hearing. We're
Yep.
here to
Well, that's why we've had a lot of
overrule or
information.
to rule, to support the CAC founding, so let's stay with who said what and let's just stay focused on it.
Sure.
Okay.
Now,
So I
now,
have some-
this map is not a 1979 map. This someone took from these little bubbles, and put it on here. Nobody could tell me when that was done, who did it, how did they figure that out? Because, like I said, in the lower corner over here, It's got it stacked. Over here, it's got it next to each other. So I don't understand how somebody went ahead and changed it. I mean, there's no road there, so we can't tell whether or not, you know, that 4309 is actually my property. I mean, there's a gap between 4309 and 4310. I would assume by looking at this piece, that's where the road goes through. That's where Peconic Bay was going through.
How did you get the map?
How'd I get this? Foil it. Trust me, I'm a foil king,
Okay.
okay? So it came from here in 1979 and came to here in 2016 to 17 when we got told. So I don't know who put it on, how it got put on, who guessed where it's supposed to be, okay?
Part of
So-
our GIS, just for the board's reference.
Okay, so our town attorney is stating that it was part of GIS?
Correct.
Just so the public understands what GIS, Bob, can you just please?
It's a geographic information system. It's the town's platform, and under our platform, we have a number of layers, including DEC regulated freshwater wetlands, town regulated freshwater wetlands. And as he's pointed out, the wetlands that were noted in the CAC report are shown on that GIS printout. And that's the map that he is referring to that he got later, and closer to the date in question as where we are now.
Okay.
But the
Okay,
GIS
in
The
rebuttal-
GIS would not be available to the general public.
But the GIS also has an overlay that shows the actual lot lines,
Yes,
and it shows the tax map numbers.
yes.
So why is that not on there?
It depends which layers you print out.
Because
It-
he's saying that it doesn't look like
I
where
think
that
he's
it's-
referring to the 79 wetlands map, is what he's referring to, where it doesn't show the lot lines. As this board knows, in 78, 79, the board commissioned the former town board council member, George Bartnick, I think was at the time. He went out and he inventoried town wetlands. Under New York State regulations, smaller wetlands that were not necessarily DEC wetlands were allowed to be flagged by local jurisdictions if they so choose.
And we've,
And we did that in 1970s,
and we
79.
also have, in the past, said that a wetland that wasn't flagged as a town wetland wasn't a wetland and reversed it.
That's correct. We've actually removed some from the
From the
wetlands
inventory,
delineation. That's
because it
correct.
was man-made.
Correct.
And George actually has pursued that, I mean, he has spoken to the town several times, trying to seek funding so that we could finish up the wetlands map, so that we could include the smaller wetlands. But just a few questions, Bob, did the.
I just wanna rebut, I know you got the thing with this map, okay, is that when I went to the town website, and I don't have that piece of paper with me, I know I have it in my files. When you go to the website of the thing, you click it on for the GIS, it gives you Suffolk County. Doesn't give you anything about Riverhead. It's Suffolk County's, and Suffolk County has no listing of this property as being wetlands at all. So when you click on that GIS for Riverhead, it does not give the Riverhead at all. It gives a Suffolk County GIS. And the Suffolk County GIS does not have wetlands listed in that whole area, not even that 4310, nothing. Okay, and then
We're getting a little off topic.
No, because you brought it up.
Because I don't think a citizen can click on the town website and see our GIS, so that's something that's new to me, and I guess we can all try that experiment. But the real question here is whether you
It's
think,
been removed.
whether you concede it is wetlands or whether you don't, regardless of the ways it was created. Are you acknowledging that the Nelson Pope Voorhees report found that it's wetlands as qualified under 295 of the town code?
I would say under duress, yes. Because I couldn't move forward without him doing it.
Okay, when you say duress, can you expand?
Well, duress, it was a matter of that we sat here with the CAC one day, and they told us basically, we're not gonna do anything until we get it delineated. You better, and he just said, you haven't put it on delineation saying that it's a wetlands, and then we'll move forward from there.
It was basically forced, because I told him I don't want it listed as wetlands, because once we do that, we're
This
gonna
is
be
we're in.
screwed, and that's exactly what happened.
Okay,
He was like, we don't have any choice, we have to, because we can't move forward without doing that. So that was, you know,
all right, back on August 17th, 1982, John Bayer, who was the commissioner of the CAC at that point, when the maps were being done, he basically put into record, because that was his stuff, he says, we're saying that before we do it, and we're talking about the maps, it says, it doesn't say that those shall not, and that you cannot build or you cannot do anything. We're saying that before you do it, we want to look at it and we want to review it. We want to review it. We want to see what you want to do or what is being planned for a particular area. Are there any freshwater wetlands that may be involved? If there are, we want to see where they are and a particular piece of property. What you want to do with that piece of whether or not you have to do anything with, let's say, filling or something like that, or to file in some manner. And basically, by adopting these maps, this gives us this adds to our legal case as far as the individual ordinance is concerned. And I'm available at this point to ask any questions. So, my question then, based on his stuff, is we looked at the property, why is it considered wetlands? What do we have besides plants? And Phragmites is the worst thing that could ever happen. Other states are ripping up out of the ground so they don't live anymore. And so we go ahead and we say, okay, we have this little plant, one little small little plant in this area. There's another, that plant's not in the air. It's not like a cluster. It's one little leaf, okay? And now all of a sudden, now it becomes a wetland because of that one plant. So what species is being affected if we go ahead and build on that? What's going to happen with the soil? Nothing. So we got to go through the whole thing and saying, why is this piece of property, which is less than is about a quarter of an acre, what's this quarter of an acre doing in a residential area, and what's it going to do to the rest of the whole neighborhood? Absolutely nothing. Is it affecting anything? There's no rodents or anything like that. There's no hawks. There's no white owls or anything of that nature in that area. Okay? So I don't understand why all of a sudden now this piece of property, which is listed as a residential vacant lot, and if it was in 1979 that they said that this was, it should have not been listed as residential vacant, it should have been listed as other. And there's also 311, whatever the other number is, 323 or something like that, that actually states that it has to do with protected area. So why wasn't it done in 1979 if it was wetlands back then, which I don't believe it was. So we're here now trying to get this straightened out so we can build on the property. If not, the only other option is you can purchase the property from us if you don't want to build on it. We're not going to let us to build on it. And then, we'll have to figure out from there what's going to happen in the court case.
All right, we're not gonna purchase the property right now.
No, I understand that, but it's just, it seems like this one little lot, which was, if you look at some of the pictures that are in the,
What year was this?
this was 2000,
There's not a drop of water on it.
Okay.
right, but no.
2013,
right.
that one is.
But the main one that we wanted to look at is 2004, when he started to do this driveway. You can see it's already partially done. The whole lot is dry. There's not a single thing of water on there at all. There's not even any Phragmites on it. There's nothing there except for grass. As soon as that driveway was finished, that's when it all started to pile and become wetlands, because across the street, all the water coming from, on the other side of Peconic Bay, was coming over into a broken pipe and then now contaminating my soil.
What year did you say you purchased the property?
2016. Now, again, we knew it was all Phragmites at that point, but again, Phragmites is, out in this area, people do build where they're Phragmites. If you have one Phragmite or two Phragmites, it seems like now it's like it's a wetland. But people build in areas, especially along that whole area. I can go over all the maps and images that you want to see for all that street where everything was being built. There were Phragmites everywhere. And now all of a sudden there's neighborhoods and houses built. Again, we're just looking for a permit to build.
So a few questions.
Go ahead, thank you.
For the town, for either planning or Bob for starters. So did we have an expert review this?
Jeff Seaman,
Right.
was part of the process,
Yeah.
yes.
Do we have,
It's in the CAC determination.
so we have a copy of Jeff's report?
I don't know if it's.
No,
in
Jeff
that,
never
but
made a report.
I don't know if he made a report, I think
No,
he just,
Jeff did
I think he did a site visit, if I recall.
Jeff
that
did a
would be
report.
Oh, I
So
stand
I'd like
corrected,
to
so
have,
we'll make that part of record.
yeah, I would like to have a copy of
Okay.
Jeff's report. and-
What is that one?
It's a report from Jeff Seaman in 2017.
I don't think I was given a copy.
All right, I'll make sure that everyone's given a copy, if that was the final document and was made part of the record.
Okay.
How did you know there was a report from Jeff Seaman?
So, and is
Yeah.
there a copy of the town's wetland map, or?
Yeah.
Okay, and when was that wetlands map done?
The wetlands maps were done in 1979 approximately. As Mr. Schroeder's pointed out, they are somewhat vague. They do not delineate, I think, roadways, but they do designate particular wetlands. For example, I forget the number that we're talking about here, 4310, for example. Then there's 4309, 4308, which are all in that immediate proximity. This was part of the inventory process that was done in the 70s, 78, 79. Some of the files have notes from the investigators who went out as to what they have found. Some of them also have little slides, so you can see what type of pictures they took. So the maps existed as of certainly 1980.
Investigators, are you talking about George Bartnick?
The people who investigated the sites, I should say the volunteers. 'Cause
It was
George
Cornell.
and- Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Or no?
Cornell did it.
So, so the CAC did an investigation?
I don't know when. What are you talking about? Again, the maps were created in 1979 as part of a process.
No, I mean for this project.
So from 2016 till now, did CAC do an investigation? That's the Nelson Pope and Voorhees study, correct?
We asked the applicant to come in with a wetlands delineator to delineate if there were wetlands on the property. And ultimately, we received the report from Nelson Pope and Voorhees, which is part of the record today, 2018. That report includes the prior site investigations from land use, from Glenn Just, from, gosh, I forget, there was 2 or 3 other reports that were in that report,
Bowman.
Bowman, that's it, Chuck Bowman, yes.
That'll say that there is wetlands or there isn't?
No,
wetlands?
they can't make a determination. The only one who made a determination was Mr. Voorhees, and he basically, we told him, look, we have to do it.
But did
The CAC is not letting us go any further. It should have really been stopped when Glenn Just put the delineation line on the survey to begin with. But the town didn't want to accept his delineation line.
We were told by the town, anybody can draw a line on a map.
Well,
That's
Glenn
kind
Just
of-
worked for the New York State DEC for about 20 years, and
Right.
that's what he did for the DEC, was delineate wetlands.
Right,
Well,
but it
that's
wasn't
why we
accepted here.
chose him.
Just to go on, I'm sorry to interrupt, but the thing with that is then with Glenn Just, we got an email from him saying, I can't do anything else for you. I'm getting threatened by the town of Riverhead that all of the delineations I've done are now under question. And I don't have that email with me, I do have it, a copy of it. But he was like, I can't do it, I'm gonna lose my credibility, and because they didn't want to accept his delineation. At least it was, Jeff didn't want to accept
So I
it.
know you had Chick Voorhees, but did the CAC do an investigation? Yes, they did. Okay. Are there photographs?
They did.
Are there photographs from planning, building and planning? Will they be available for us to look at?
We can make sure that all the documents in here, any relevant documents.
When you say report, what kind of report or investigation are you talking about? I mean, that's what I mean, they,
Okay, so.
I just
did
want to
y'all
know,
give-
because
Yeah, okay.
Greg needs to clarify what we're talking about
Yes, I have
investigation.
documents,
You
but
know
they're
what?
all available in our building department, so we have them.
Well, that's what I'm clarifying, because we have a decision to make, and with all due respect, I waited patiently for you.
You're right,
So if you could let me
I
finish.
apologize.
You know, I know that, I have heard that residents complained about the flooding there, and, you said there are actually, I believe that there are photographs showing your property underwater after you did illegal clearing. I believe that you cleared wetland vegetation from the site prior to your application to the CAC or to the town building and planning department.
Do you want me to answer that, or?
Sure.
Okay. Again, the same reason is we didn't know it was wetlands because the property across the roadway was building on wetlands, which we didn't know it was wetlands at that point because we couldn't get the map. So we just figured it was just a regular thing. We had DEC approval, basically saying that's non-jurisdiction. So we were gonna just clear it to get rid of the phragmites off of that, so we can get some more, what?
No, I just wanna add to that. There's nothing been removed from that property whatsoever. There was telephone poles and old irrigation systems and all kinds of dangerous things, and people walked across that to get to the beach. It's all pushed to the back. It's all in a pile in the back.
Okay, I just wanna clarify that.
Just for safety reasons, for my
Yeah, just-
liability.
Because I have heard that you cleared wetland vegetation on the site prior to getting approval. And just for me, it's hard, I have trouble, thinking that you didn't know this was a wetland area. It's when you're buying a piece of property. But anyway, just a few more things. Land map. Oh, the wetland map, I believe the wetland map doesn't actually show that your neighbor's property is on the wetland, but you are going to get those properties and look into that, correct, Bob?
What I would like to do, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I had a little trouble following the ping pong ball here. I would ask Phoenix, as the applicant making this appeal, to identify the other properties that they feel are the same as theirs. If they can do that, then we can do a side-by-side comparison and see if they're similarly situate, whether they are within a regulated area or the adjacent area, or whether they're within an actual delineated wetlands. There is a distinction. I'm not sure if I have them all. I know the one is the property that Dr. Zahosky's on, so that's the Smitelli piece. So I am aware of that one. We'll look at that record. We'll see what the CAC decided, because there was a CAC decision, and what the survey was that they relied upon for making that decision.
Do you want, I have a copy of it right here that was taken out of the file, and it's got the little things that says flag and a flag and a flag, and it says, wetlands declared on 4/5/11 by Bowman. The same person that we had do our delineation. So I have that right here with me as well, that has that where they actually built.
If you want to submit that for part of the record, we can make that part of the record today.
Because I know I'd given it to that. And by the way, the Phragmites by our survey, I know he's not a delineator, but Nathan Corwin basically said there's no, Phragmites don't always make a wetland.
So
But
just,
as you note, he's not a wetlands delineator.
Yep, I
so-
understand, yep.
Oh, but Glenn just was, and Nathan was out there to depict the flags on the survey, correct?
right, so just for me to finish up, I think it's important for us as a town board to review all of these records, detailed records, and, you know, and consider all the evidence. And that's where I'm at.
And if the neighboring property got a non-jurisdiction letter, why would they even get a non-jurisdiction letter if they weren't wetlands?
Exactly. It doesn't, I don't think, I'd like to see the properties and see if they're actually considered in the wetlands. Like, I can't just go on hearsay. I wanna look over all the evidence and the detail, cause this is, I mean, to think about building in a wetlands is, you know, a real concern. So I think I would like to see the rest of the evidence and consider this. Thank you.
And the day that they went out to look at the property, we had 4 inches of rain in 2 days. The whole street was underwater, including our property.
Right, I have picture after picture of that whole street underwater. And when we came here with our attorney, was that a CAC meeting? Or the town? One of the first ones we came into a meeting, and the town attorney, was it?
Town attorney from
Asked,
Brookhaven.
asked the engineer how long he'd been working for him. I think it was about town of Riverhead, I think it was about 1.5 years. And he said, in that 1.5 years, have you ever personally been asked to go out and look at a property? And he said, no. So clearly they were singling our property out for whatever reason, whether the neighbors, whatever.
One additional thing I want to bring up, because it was raised by the CAC. At one point, I think they, in the report, indicate that they asked you as applicant to consider reduction of the house size and do other things. Can you address that point, just so that we
Right.
have that issue
The
addressed?
reduction of the size would put it at 90 to 100 square feet. That's what would be left after we went ahead and said, the only place we have, you look at the pictures when you get the chance to look at those pictures, in the front corner, left corner, there's a driveway there, which is on our property. That's about the only piece that, at this point, that they said we could build on. That was it. So it's, you know, the length of a driveway, which is 1 car plus about 6 or 7 feet. So that would be the parcel that we would have had to put a house on. And we would never have gotten any ZBA approval to put it 2 feet from the edge of the property. So, and then we would have had to put it in part of the road. So there would be no way of doing that, even though they suggested to make a smaller home. They
I'm
made-
not sure that's what they asked, I'm sorry to interject. I think what they were looking to see is whether you would go to, like, a 1,500 square foot house or something that would be the minimum square footage on the property.
Right, okay, now
I think that was what they were asking, but, just to be clear.
All right, so I'll answer that about 1,500 foot. First of all, yes, it was 2,000 square feet, but that was 2 floors. It was only 1,000 square foot footprint. So that's even less than the 1,500 that the town attorney now is talking about. So
It
we
was
were
in
under
the
that
report,
1,500.
that's all. I just wanted to make sure I.
No, I understand. I think what it was is that one guy, the neighbor actually said, we don't want a McMansion next to our house.
Right, a 3-bedroom, small, 2-bath house, and he literally, it's on record, he said he didn't want a McMansion built there. It's not a McMansion.
Definitely not.
And not only that, the way the design of the house was, we were gonna have the driveway coming in, and I said to Ken, I don't think if I was a neighbor, I'm already thinking about the neighbors, I don't think I'd want a driveway on that side, we need to move the I mean.
Did you need a variance for any of the setbacks on this property?
Yes, we had to go for the variances, and the variances were set with one exception. We had to have a special rule. They set all the footage and all that kind of stuff. The last thing for us to get approval, we had to redraw our house, was to add an additional window on the neighbor's side of the house. How does that have to do with setbacks? I have no idea. But yet I had to go ahead and redesign the house, move one window from one side to the other side. So now I had a bigger window in order to meet the ZBA's setbacks.
Because they said it would not be aesthetically pleasing to drive down the road and see a side without a window, that's what they said. So we moved the window and we got the approval.
So you have the variance approval.
So the
Not
bottom
anymore, the
line,
variance is now expired. I did not get the new one because of what's been taking this so long. I got the variance in 2017, I think was the first one. So we extended it for 2018, then 2019, but they wouldn't do it this year. This year we were
Well,
told
you're
no.
only allowed to extend it twice. You get
Well,
the
I
letter-
understand that,
yeah.
but because of what was going on with COVID, and because this was taking so long to get through, and the other delays that were happening, you know, we basically had asked for an exception to get the fourth one in. Right now, it would be due in April. So we
Right,
would, you
yeah.
know, we'd still be asking for another one, because this is, you know, we've asked every single year, and we've gotten the approval.
so aside from all of this other information about what neighbors said and such, the bottom line is, we have to look at all the evidence and determine whether it, you know, and make a determination, but, certainly, I feel strongly that it's our charge to protect the delicate areas around here, and I wanna look at everything, but it certainly sounds like it was a wetland to me, but I wanna look at the maps and the photos and the evidence.
But again, we didn't care about the other person building the wetlands.
Okay, aside from that, let's stay focused on the hearing on your property, and, Bob, you'll send it, would you send all members of the board the copies of the, Voorhees report, make sure everybody gets it to us? and
Yeah,
the
I'm
CAC?
gonna ask if Diane can put it up on the website so it's posted.
Okay.
If she can't, then I will circulate the copies to the town board. I know I had trouble, every time I attached it to our email, it indicated it was too large in size to transmit by email, so
Right.
I'll have to print them out if we're unable to get them loaded onto the website.
And I'd like to be able to see the photographs and Jeff's report, and
Yeah, just make us copies of everything.
Yeah, that's
and
it,
then-
so
would
we
be
can
great.
look at it.
All right,
And we need a copy of Jeff's report.
We need a copy of Jeff's report, because we've not seen that.
okay.
Okay, any other board members wanna chime in?
Nope, I wanna see
You're
it.
fine? Yeah, I think we have to look at this matter further.
But we need to leave it open because the town attorney has requested additional information as to comparisons of adjoining lots.
Okay.
Right, but we can do that in writing. There's no need for any further testimony. I think we can do that in writing if the board would want to do what they did with the 2 prior hearings, keep it open for a written comment until the 16th.
Right, and then we can go back and forth.
Right, well, that happens a lot. We get here and no one wants to give us a decision, and then 3 or 4 weeks later, we get an answer in the mail, and then we
Well,
gotta go ahead and jump.
that's why I like to have the record completed by that 16th, as we
Yeah.
did with the prior hearings. That way, everybody has an opportunity to put whatever they want into the record, and we can close it at that time.
Right.
And we have a certain time frame to make a decision, correct?
I want to make this decision quick, because it's been long enough.
But I'm just asking you, are we
The
required
the code
under-
doesn't say a specific decision. It does indicate when the building department and when the report had to be transferred to them.
So you can have a public hearing and never make a decision.
No, I mean, you gotta make a decision, because we gotta give a final decision. I don't have a specific date in the code that I remember saying that's
I
gotta
thought
be
it was
rendered in
60
30
days.
days.
62 days is
Um,
what
I
it
think
normally
it's 62 days.
Let me look at it.
Well, at least we know that exists, you could send that to us.
I think it's 5
What?
days.
Let me see what
I need to help them out.
I'm sorry.
All right, while you do that, Bob, and let's, call and see if we have any, members of the community that want to, make comments in this regard. Okay, so how many people we have in the waiting room, Chip?
Chip, we have anybody?
One person in the waiting room.
Okay, who do we have? What's the last name? Okay, Eric in the Zoom waiting room, we're gonna bring you forward.
Okay, he's on the phone.
Hello?
Hi,
Oh,
Eric,
is he on
do
the
you have audio?
Oh.
Oh, there you go.
Hello.
Hi, Eric, if you
How
could
you
state
guys
your
doing
name,
today?
if you could state your name and hamlet for the record, please, you'll have 5 minutes
Yes,
to
of
please
course.
make any comments.
My name is Eric Graysick. I reside at 46 Willow Street. And I have a few concerns in regards to everything that's going on. But first off, I wanted to thank you guys, supervisor and members of the board, for letting me speak in front of you guys. First off, when this application was filed, I do believe I read that they were supposed to notify the neighbors of the appeal, and we never received any notification. We were fortunate enough to read this in the Riverhead Review that came out on October 15th, stating that there would be a meeting today, and thankfully we just read it yesterday, so I was able to be present and put down my piece. What really bothered me was when they said that nobody notices anything that's going on there, and the Phragmites. I can list a handful of animals that have made their home in that wetlands. Most notably, in the early spring, you'll see the red-winged blackbirds as they fly in, and you can see them swaying back and forth on the Phragmites. Annoying as it is, having being woken up at 5 in the morning by them going out to get food for their young, I still appreciate it, and I find it a thing of beauty to be able to see them every morning. On top of that, I've also seen the yellow finch return to the area. This is the first time that I've seen them this year, and it's a thing of beauty to be able to see them every day. I heard that there was no owls on the premise. There actually is a barn owl that resides in the area, and whether it be on that property or in the neighboring area, maybe there's something that it feeds on, and that's something that should be looked into. There's also downy woodpeckers and red-bellied woodpeckers that both peck on the Phragmites and eat whatever insects are inside of there. I'm not sure what. And the property is underwater probably 70% of the year, from the rains of March until late June, and it's only really dry in July and August. And if you want to go to the property now, you can see that it is under at least 4 to 5 inches of water. They made the claim that the rest of the street is underwater, but that water goes away in a day, whereas the water in that property at 48 Willow Street, it's there for months at a time. And also, other animals, there's a groundhog, who's I've named Freddie, who also had a child this year, and now there's a couple of groundhogs that we now have in the area. There's also thumbnail frogs in the springtime that hatch, and there's thousands of frogs. You can ask any of the other neighbors. There's frogs all over the neighborhood, and a lot of them are born and spawn there. What else? And I don't understand why the ecosystem should suffer when the wetlands were designated in 1979, and there's a map, and just because they didn't do their due diligence before purchasing the property, that now all these animals, where are the blackbirds going to go? I mean, all their young live there. I mean, every morning I sit outside, sorry, I get emotional. My family's had the house next door since the 50s, and now I've been living there the last 2 years, and every morning I see the sunrise, the Phragmites, they're beautiful, sorry.
And just seeing the birds come in, and just to have that lost because someone wants to build a property because they couldn't even do the proper research and notice that it was designated wetlands. And now because we have to suffer, this is happening all over the country. And just because people are greedy and they want to build properties and take over what is ours. And it's just unacceptable. Let me see what other notes I have. I mean, yeah, that's pretty much all that I have. I mean, and he brought up other people on the property. I mean, that was a mistake. I don't want to get into other things, and maybe that was done wrong, but why do we need to make the same mistake again? He said the other ones were a mistake. Why should we make the same mistake with his property and let him build, even if the other ones are, I mean, it's ridiculous. He's stating that the other ones are a mistake and they never should have been built, but yet he wants to continue to build. It's crazy. We have such a small amount of reserves left, and just the fact that people want to destroy it when it's been designated, and it's just ridiculous, and it really upsets me. And I know you guys will do the right thing. I do, and I hope you do. And thank you for listening to me. I really appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay,
You're
thank
at
you.
46 Willow?
I'm a 46 Willow, yes, just next door.
Okay,
Thank you.
believe we have somebody else in the
driveway?
meeting room looking to
Oh,
make
you
a
don't?
comment.
Okay.
We do?
Yeah, put it forward, please.
So Chip, you can bring up Charlie Dixon. Is it over a call, Chip, or is it a, okay. So Charlie, if you can hear us, you could please state your name and hamlet for the record, and you'll have 5 minutes to make any comments.
Sure, my name is Charlie Dixon, 27 Willow Street, adjacent. And I just wanted to bring some clarity to the beginning of the conversation regarding the access, the driveway. That has been in existence long before 2004. And that property has got I believe, a Peconic Bay Boulevard address because it's the driveway for a house that resides on the bay, not on Locust, not on Willow in that community, but that access and that road has been there since Conklin's built that house probably in the 50s. So that road has always been there. It was not put in 2004 for clarity. And then the part about man-made between the properties, Lenny and Eric, they put in a line of privet. So it's just a line of plantings between the properties there. It's not a man-made barrier. So that's just the information I wanted to add. That's it.
So you're saying that 46 is the one that put the privets in, but there's no berm there?
No, it's just a plant. They just planted. You planted a line of privet.
Okay, that's 46.
Yeah. I guess Eric is 46, right across the street.
Okay, any other comments, Mr. Dixon?
No,
Okay.
that's just it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Chip, do we have anybody else? That's it, right?
Any more comments from the board on this public hearing?
I think they want to respond to what those people said.
Well,
Are you allowed to say anything else?
yes, you can come back up and respond.
Well, just trying to.
I won't touch.
I just want to ask that, it might be dark tonight, but can I go tomorrow and submit pictures of that berm? And also that driveway that he said was put in? We have pictures of when it went in, and it's raised up
Right.
this high. So it absolutely stops any water that used to
Yes.
drain into that adjacent.
Back, and part of the pictures that are with the town attorney, they do show pictures that there was a dirt road that people used as cut through, because it was always, the street was always there on Locust, they could get there, but they decided to do their own little shortcut, which was very flat. Now it's about, I don't know, about 24 inches above ground level. And also the trees that he's talking about that are planted, well, yes, I can understand that someone could say they're just trees or bushes that were planted, but when you put in, I don't know, about another 18 to 20 inches of dirt above the regular ground, and that's where it is. And if they really want to get into stuff like that, and I can go ahead and say, why is he on my property
Cutting
cutting our
grass.
grass? He's doing on our property.
He
be-
maintained,
He
like,
maintains that area between our property and his trees, so none of the Phragmites come over to his side of the fence
Yes.
or out on the side of the berm. And he's
Exactly.
always on my property, and his grass clippings are always on my property.
Yep.
So you're saying they brought in Phil to,
I'll take a
12
picture
to
tomorrow
18.
and submit
Well, it's,
it.
I would say it's
I was asking
probably
a
not.
question, can I
Yeah.
finish my question?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. So, you're saying they brought in fill, 12 to 18 inches of fill, the whole line to plant the privets?
Correct.
Yes,
So
And
there's,
that they raised the road,
yes,
on the other side.
on the other side,
so they brought in fill for that too?
correct. It's all stone, which is now, it's not pervious. So that's the other thing, because you put dirt in it, and then you put in top of that on the stone, crushed stone, so it's not impervious at this point. That's the reason why none of the water ever stays on that piece of, that thing, it all comes off onto our property. And the other thing I wanna mention too is that he's talking about the water. The water, if you go and look at every catch basin that's on that street, it is 100% filled. None of the water goes anywhere, it can't go anywhere. So when it does rain, yes, the water goes ahead and fills up the street. And then what ends up happening is, somehow, the way the road is pitched goes right down to our property, and that's why it's always got water on it now, because of that. And the other thing is that, Eric there, it's been a family feud there, because the people we bought it from are related to them. And they didn't want they didn't want the property sold. Because we were told by the person, if we had the money, we would have bought it ourselves, we don't want anybody there. So, you know, that's and the thing is that those two berms have stopped us, and I didn't know anything about groundhog, where are these things all coming from all of a sudden? We go in there all the time, we don't see any of these animals. And I walk through it at times, we don't see any of these animals. Yes, red-winged blackbirds are all over the place, woodpeckers are all over, I got them in my backyard, okay? So this has nothing to do with the wetlands, you know, and a groundhog, I've got them, and I don't have wetlands. So all the animals he basically talked about were animals that are normally in everybody else's neighborhood that could have them. It's not a wetland animal at all. So it's not stopping any of the actual wetland species of animals from living there.
Greg, can I see the picture of the property underwater? I think you have a photo of it underwater after they did the clearing, the illegal clearing?
Can you look at the date on that and also look at the rainfall that year that was taken? Because I feel like there was an average of those first 3 or 4 months of that year of about 4 inches of rainfall.
Thank you, Greg.
I don't have the dates on which these pictures were taken, but.
And this is, so this is after the clearing?
Yes.
And I'll share with my councilman.
We put them up somewhere so I could see them?
Now, we're gonna have to put that up online.
Okay.
So, we're gonna have to get a copy done, and it has to go online.
I'll wait to see all the records.
And if I believe those are the pictures I know, if you look at where all the water is, it's where the track was, of where the skid loader ended up clearing it. So all of that water is in the gullies of all of the tracks, not on the rest of the property.
It's a lot of water. I'm gonna, Frank, you wanna?
And I
I'm gonna
think
look at
those-
it all together, thank you.
All those records are available for us to see electronically.
When they package it together, I'll.
Yeah, let them package it together,
Thank
because
you
they
so
are
much.
available electronically also, and yeah, it'd be good to see one full, instead of piecemeal
Okay.
of an issue, that way we
That's,
can.
yeah. And just one other thing about water, Mr. Eric's, Greisig's house there, and I didn't know he was living there because it was his father that has been there always. But his backyard floods out too. So if his backyard's underwater, so therefore his backyard is also wetlands. So that means that he can't do anything that he keeps doing.
What's Adam's last name?
Okay, do we have anyone else from the public that wants to make a comment?
Okay, that's it. That's it, right, Chip? Oh. Okay, what's the last 4 digits, Chip? So, phone number ending in 3958, appears you've just raised your hand. We're gonna bring you up. You can hit *6 to unmute yourself.
Perfect.
Hello?
Hi there, can you hear us?
Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
we can hear you. You looking to make a
This is
comment on
Barbara
which matter?
Yes, I am. This is Barbara Grazik. I reside at 46 Willow Street.
Okay, we're gonna give you 5 minutes, ma'am. You'll have 5 minutes to make any comments today.
Okay. My son was the one who called earlier. My husband's family has owned this property since the 50s. We used to have trees where those privet hedges are. The trees all died during Sandy, when the storm surge brought up the water 3 feet. We decided to plant privets there rather than put up a fence, because trees absorb water. And we said the best way to deal with water is to plant trees. So that's why we have privets there. And also, they mentioned mowing on their lawn, on their side. That is our property, past the privets, for about 2 to 3 feet. If you look at the stone, that marks our property line. So before you start picking on people, get the facts straight. The water in our driveway constantly is there all year now. It used to be just in the springtime, and occasionally in the fall when we have a storm. Now, any rain we get, our driveway is inundated. By putting up a house, it'll only make the matter worse on our property. If it was designated wetlands, there should be no building there.
And how would that affect your home if there's a home built?
I'm having trouble hearing you.
Okay, so you're claiming...
Hello?
Hi, can you hear me better?
You go on.
Okay, so you're claiming that if a home is built on the property, it's gonna affect your home. Can you please describe...
Absolutely.
In what manner?
Why it would happen?
Yeah, give us some details.
Is that what you're asking me?
Yeah, give this board and, some details as to how your home is gonna be adversely affected if a home is built next to your property.
By putting a home there, you are taking up space in the ground where water normally would get absorbed. That space is no longer there. So therefore, the water would come over to us. Right now, when their driveway gets flooded, there's a little stream that comes onto our property. Could you imagine if there's a house that is absorbing all the water, taking up the space where the water is? It would get even worse.
Okay, anything else you wanna add, ma'am?
No.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
This is a different house than built the two-story garage, correct?
I'm sorry? Different.
It's different, so that's on the other side.
This is the one,
You wanna come up to the mic, please?
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
If you're standing on our property looking out towards Adam.
What's the
Across
address?
the street, 46, is it?
He's 25.
25?
Oh, no, 46 is next to us.
Right, yeah, that's her house. Is
So across the street
property
is where they
right-
built the two-story garage?
No, that's on the east side, the driveway goes down and it's behind the house across the street from us is where the garage is.
So it's not on the bay side?
Yeah, yeah, if you're
There's nothing,
facing,
there's nothing from the bay stopping anything. So from the bay all the way up to Wazlewski Street, whatever that little road is that connects into there off of Peconic Bay, that's where the two-story house is. It's actually separated from the driveway to where, and it's gonna be from the front of our property, it would be, southeast, northeast, it would be northeast. So you're facing the bay from the, back to the house, it would be at 11 o'clock is where the thing is going, where the two-car garage is.
Right. Okay.
And that's on wetlands, and, so, the thing, we already discussed how we're gonna mitigate water with the CAC. And we had discussed possibility even doing piles so water could flow underneath as opposed to concrete.
I'm sure the Voorhees report will indicate how to mitigate some of those concerns.
Yes, ma'am. There's a whole list of things on how we were gonna mitigate it. And if not, I can get some of his notes that would say, this is what we discussed. I believe, I mean, I'm not even sure if, I'd have to look through it again myself. But I do have emails and stuff like that that state,
So-
we're gonna put plants here, we're gonna put some
Right.
catch basins and all that kind of stuff.
So the report, you are willing to mitigate some of that according to the,
Correct. We were gonna try and get rid of his whole, we're gonna get a big, huge drainage system.
No, you don't decide what. The engineers that did your report would give you recommendations.
These were the
And
suggestions.
you're willing to adopt some of those recommendations?
Correct.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, that concludes the public hearing portion of this meeting. We will now move on to public comments on the resolutions before us today. I'm gonna close this public portion and leave it open for written comments until 4:30, November 16th, at the clerk's office. Again, it's an extra 2 days, because 10 days from now would be on a Saturday, and we're gonna follow it with the next business day, and now we're gonna move on to the, public comments on the resolutions.
Okay, I don't think we actually have anybody in the room who's indicated they want to comment on resolutions. Is that right, Chip? We have a couple people for open comment at the end, but nobody's
Okay.
indicated for resolutions.
Okay. Moving forward. Diane, can you please read the resolutions?
Okay. Resolution 564.
Economic Development Budget Transfer, so moved.
Seconded?
Vote please.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 565.
Police Department budget adjustment, so moved.
Second?
Seconded?
Okay, vote please.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Just wanted to ask what lines these came from? I know these were moved, this was moved from, this is where it was moved from another lines, right?
It's in the resolution.
Okay,
It's listed
all
in
right.
there.
It's on
I'll
the
check it.
resolution.
See, it's got all of the lines that it came from.
Perfect, never mind. Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Catherine was a yes?
That was a yes.
Okay. Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 566.
Planning Department budget adjustment, so moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 567.
Riverview Lofts, 221 East Main Street, project number 60184, budget adjustment, so moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for an answer from planning as to how it's going to be addressed for the stress fractures and the homes across the street as we get closer to, moving this towards certificate of occupancy. I'd really like to know, because we're authorizing the, water to be connected.
That is a yes, Jody?
Yes.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you. Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 568.
Water District Plan 10 Storage Tank Rehabilitation Budget Adoption, so moved.
Seconded?
Vote please.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 569.
CDBG budget modification, so moved.
Seconded?
Vote please.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 570.
Approves transfer of funds for the Suffolk County fiscal year 2019 Community Development Block Grant, so moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 571.
Accepts the retirement of a public safety dispatcher. So moved.
Second.
Was this a new highway hire?
No, no.
No.
Public safety
Police
dispatcher.
dispatch.
Oh, police dispatcher, okay, I see.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 572.
Accepts the resignation of an automotive equipment operator. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 573.
Accepts the resignation of an assessment clerk. So moved.
Seconded?
Vote please.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
I wish Cheryl well, yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
I want to say no, but I'll have to say yes, and I wish her well.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted.
Best of luck.
Resolution 574.
Appoints the automotive equipment operator to the sanitation division of the town's engineer department. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 575.
Appoints a maintenance mechanic to the Riverhead Water District. So moved.
Second.
Vote please.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 576.
Ratifies the appointment of a recreation specialist to the Recreation Department. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 577.
Amends resolution number 2020-547, ratifying the appointment of a temporary part-time public safety dispatcher. So moved.
Seconded?
Vote please.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 578.
Authorizes the town clerk to publish and post a notice to bidders for food and meat products. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 579.
Authorizes the town clerk to publish and post notice to bidders bid for general hardware items. So moved.
Second.
Vote please.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 580.
Authorizes town clerk to publish and post notice to bidders for water service materials. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 581.
Extends bid for charter coach transportation. So moved.
Seconded?
Vote please.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 582.
Awards bid for well and pump service for Riverhead Water District. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 583.
To amend order for mini buses for senior department. So moved.
I'll second.
Vote please.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
It just always reminds me of Jim Wooten
I
with the
know.
mini buses and the mini drivers
I was
and
thinking that the
everything.
other
Yeah,
day.
funny. Hey, Jim. Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 584.
Authorizes notice to bidders, process control system maintenance and emergency services, Riverhead Water District, project number RDWD 2003, PCS. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 585.
Authorize notice to bidders, mechanical maintenance and emergency services, Riverhead Water District, project number RDWD 2003M. So moved.
Seconded?
Vote please.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 586.
Authorizes notice to bidders, hydraulic control valve maintenance and emergency services, Riverhead Water District project number RDWD 2003 HCV. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 587.
Authorizes notice to bidders, electrical system maintenance and emergency services, Riverhead Water District Project, RDWD 2003E. So moved.
Second.
Vote please.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Aguiar.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 588.
Authorizes the supervisor to execute a fifth addendum, non-pro-tunc, to professional services agreement for placement of commemorative items at Grumman Memorial Park. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
And I want to thank Pat Van Doedering for her dedication to our town. I vote yes.
Hubbard.
Ditto what Catherine just said, I vote yes.
Giglio.
Thanks, Pat. Yes.
Aguiar.
Yes, and I want to thank Pat Van Doedering for continued service in this effort on the Memorial Park. It's much appreciated. This costs the town a very minimal amount of cost for the materials, and I'm glad to see it's a 2-year contract, and I hope she stays beyond the 2 years. Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 589.
Authorizes notice to bidders, water distribution system, maintenance and emergency services, Riverhead Water District, project number RDWD 2003 WD. So moved.
Seconded?
Vote please.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Aguiar.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 590.
Ratifies approval, Open Space Committee update for preservation of parcels with funding via Suffolk County Old Drinking Water Protection Program.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
It is attached.
Yes.
See it? Now?
Hubbard.
Okay.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Aguiar.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 591.
Authorizes shotgun hunting for deer on town property at Enterprise Park at Calverton, Suffolk County Tax Map 600-135 1-7 33 et al. And 1751 Sound Avenue, Calverton, Suffolk County Tax Map 600-60-1-2 from January 3rd, 2021 to January 31st, 2021. Sunrise to sunset. So moved.
Ooh, seconded.
Mouthful there.
You gave me time to write out the whole list for Catherine.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Hubbard.
We didn't get a
Just a
second.
reminder
No,
that,
yeah, Jody did.
just a reminder that on the EPCAL property at the park up there, the trail, that will be closed during that time period from January 3rd to January 31st because it is shotgun season. So for those days, the trail will be closed. Just a memo to make for the residents. And I vote yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Aguiar.
Yes, I also want to note that if they need to find out or confirm the date, it's also on the website. So, just beware. Thank you.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 592.
Amendment to investment policy. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
What is the change here, Bill?
It goes from one bank to the other, Jody.
Okay, we're just adding a
From
bank,
Empire
BNB?
National, and it merged
Oh,
with
that's right, 'cause
Flushing Bank.
Got it, yep,
Okay.
because they got taken over. Yes.
Yep.
Aguiar.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 593.
Authorizes the supervisor to execute professional service agreements with H2M. So moved.
Seconded?
Vote please.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Aguiar.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 594.
Approves All Island Excavating Corporation as a drain layer for Riverhead Sewer District. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Aguiar.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 595.
Approves and authorizes the supervisor to execute third addendum to extend agreement non-pro-tunc with Mark Conklin to provide consulting services to the town of Riverhead Water District. So moved.
Second.
Vote please.
Bayrock.
Absolutely, Mark is such a valuable tool to our water department. Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Aguiar.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 596.
grants excavation and exportation permit pursuant to Chapter 229 of the Riverhead Town Code for the applicant known as 331 East Main Street LLC, 331 East Main Street, Riverhead, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 600-129-4-15. So moved.
Seconded?
Vote please.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 597.
Classify special permit and site plan application for proposed drive-in restaurant and retail site as type 1 action pursuant to SECRA, and initiates coordinated SECRA review among involved agencies, north side of Old Country Road, 230 feet west of Osborne Avenue, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 600-108-2-6.1. So moved.
Vote
Seconded?
please. Vote please.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 598.
Authorizes town clerk to publish and post a notice of public hearing to consider a proposed local law for an amendment of Chapter 301 entitled Zoning and Land Development of the Riverhead Town Code, Railroad Avenue Urban Renewal Overlay Zone. So moved.
Seconded.
Vote please.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 599.
Schedule a public hearing for the parking district bond authorization. So moved.
Second.
Vote please.
Bayrock.
Yes.
Kent.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. Resolution 600.
Pays the bills. So moved.
Vote please.
Did someone second?
Seconded.
Vote please.
Okay. Bayrock.
Yes, pay
Kent.
the bills.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Giglio.
Yes.
Aguirre.
Yes.
Resolution adopted.
I'd like to bring something up that we talked about.
You wanna make a
Yeah.
comment? Absolutely.
Want to make a comment. So I had talked to, the town attorneys, and I spoke to my other board members here. I'm quite concerned about the propane facility, project that was before us at 48 Cromer. It's, very concerning to me that we may not have had all the information there, and yet we voted on a neg deck. So I had asked someone in the town attorney's office to do a resolution for me to rescind the neg deck on this propane project that was going there, because I feel that when we're making a decision such as a neg deck, which is an important decision, we need to have all the information before us, and there was some kind of discrepancy about the information and whether we were following all the proper fire prevention, protocols, whether we had all of that in place. But I did speak to, each of my councilmates, and I'll let them weigh in if they choose to. I think we're pretty much on the same page on this, and the supervisor did inform me that, well, of course, there's an investigation going, that she would like to bring this up at work session and discuss it, and then, so I'm holding off on the resolution, because I need 5 to bring it off the floor too, and also because we're going to be discussing it and getting further information.
Just to clarify a little bit, the process came before the board for the application for a special permit. When it was given to us, we did not have the recommendations from the fire department or the fire marshal indicating what their recommendations would be. Not because they weren't going to be done, but just because in the order of process that it came to us before it went to the fire department and before the fire marshal weighed in on it. Knowing that it was going before the planning board, and the planning board has final site plan approval of this project, it would never get past the planning board without it going to the fire department and the fire marshal. So it's just when I read the article on Riverhead Local, it kind of made it sound like this was being pushed through and somebody got over on the board, and it's really nothing like that at all. But I did speak with planning, and I would prefer that the board be given as much information as possible and possibly not come before the board for a special permit process unless we have all the information before us at hand. knowing that it was gonna come up, knowing that it was gonna be handled by the planning board, but I still would like, I feel the board needs to be a little bit more informed when we're making decisions on things as important as mass propane storage area right next to one that already exists. And we certainly don't wanna do anything that would ever put one of our volunteer firemen in harm's way, and that's why it's so important we get the information from them. But I think this will be addressed tomorrow in the work session. I thank you, Catherine, for bringing it up also.
Yes, and thank you, Catherine, again for bringing it up, but I have scheduled it for a work session. I am not gonna vote to rescind it, and we need the entire board to agree, so that stops here. However, we can bring it up tomorrow. We have a little bit more time to discuss it and review some documents. I instructed our town attorney office to look into this matter, and they're in the process of reviewing it, and I'm awaiting the results of that investigation. We need to ensure that in the future that the fire marshal's report is actually included with the, when they present before the board. And unfortunately, there was, whatever it is, and we'll find out, we'll get to the bottom of this, but we will have a protection in place for the future so this doesn't happen again.
Yeah, it would be a change in policy and procedures, because the special permit is whether or not they meet the criteria for the special permit, and there's a test and a list, which I discussed with Bob earlier, who indicated that they had met all of the criteria for the special permit. And also that the building department is not gonna issue a building permit unless they comply with all the fire codes and everything else. So,
Right.
I mean, if we were to deny the special permit, then we would probably be facing litigation, especially if they're meeting all the criteria as outlined in the code.
And
Bob, you wanna elaborate on that?
Good.
Well, yeah. As part of the special permit, the planning department obviously goes through the seeker analysis. And in this case, as was pointed out or alluded to, this started in 2018. There was a seeker resolution rendered in 2019. Then it was reclassified, and this board chose to reclassify it as a type 1 in February this year. Then posted for a public hearing, held a public hearing, and voted in September, I think September 15th, to approve it. The special permit criteria are those items that are set forth in 301, 312. The board made a determination that this application met the criteria and in fact approved the special permit. As somebody else alluded to, the site plan process does require that a certain number of prints be supplied. One of the individuals who is supplied with the permit print is the fire marshal's office, who then fires it over to the fire services. So they do have a say, and certainly the fire safety issues, the NFPA, the New York State Building Code issues will, I'm very confident, be addressed by the planning board as part of that site plan process. But as pointed out by Councilperson Giglio, we looked at it, did the seeker review, and made a determination in accordance with the special permit criteria.
Okay, so we'll discuss it further tomorrow at work
And just to
session.
reiterate, my concern was with the neg deck, because there may have been some missing information, or we didn't have all the information, it may be a faulty secret record, so that was my concern. So I certainly hope we take a look at this. I wouldn't wanna see this application moving forward. I feel like we should suspend this application until this investigation is complete.
And I think the investigation is not necessarily to look at the secret review process, so we have to, make sure, Jeff, you wanted to add to this?
But the investigation matters in the secret.
I think the investigation was to who in the fire marshal's
Right.
office wrote the letter.
But there's
Yeah,
some
who wrote the letter? We don't start investigations on
Well,
secret.
there's some-
It's not,
there's
please
some-
start a process.
But there's definitely some discrepancy, and we didn't get the information about the fire marshals,
Yeah, there was a discrepancy
Right.
about a memo, it nothing to do with secret, and we can't just start opening up once secret review is done and accepted by the board. We can't just starting investigations. Catherine, if you wanna look further, and tomorrow we're having the work session, bring that up, okay? And Jeff, you wanted to add?
Just to elaborate a little bit, felt there needs to be some clarification and correction on the record.
Okay.
This application came back, it was submitted back in 2018. It was a very large project. included a lot more propane storage than what is currently being proposed, and certainly more than what the neg deck was based on. That was back in 2018. Back in January 2019, we did receive a fire marshal report, and that was emailed to Karen Gluth, who was a project planner at that time. The fire was prepared by David Andruskevich, and Craig Zidek, who was the chief fire marshal, was copied on it. It's a public document, public record. The town board was included as part of that through the staff reports and also through the secret review process. There's nothing being hidden from the board by any of that. Those were preliminary comments based upon a 2018 plan. The secret neg deck preceded the special permit. The plan that was the secret neg deck was based on was significantly reduced in size, scale, and scope from the prior report prepared by and reviewed by the fire marshal. The rail spur was eliminated. 1/3 of the site was being preserved for open space pursuant to a DEC requirement. So the project that you saw was significantly reduced from what the fire marshal previously had reviewed and prepared a memo on. Second part is with the secret review, the secret does not require a review and evaluation of a project based upon its compliance with the New York State Building Code or the Fire Code. Those are not secret review criteria.
Okay.
That's very important to point out.
Okay, so you're saying a secret review does not,
That is correct.
does not include a fire or a building code,
Compliance with
review?
a, correct.
Compliance review, okay.
But Jeff, I would think it would matter that in secret matters, the overall impacts matter, and it is right next to another propane. I mean, to Tim's point, it's a lot of propane right there together. So, I mean, I'll have more questions, but I'll ask them tomorrow.
To proceed, this project is not close to being completed yet. The special permit was approved. Next part of that is site plan review by the planning board. The planning board is currently reviewing the application, and as a result of the initial concerns raised by the planning board, the application and the plan has been scaled back even more as we speak today. That plan has not been reviewed by the fire marshal's office because we have not actually received the revised plans of yet. The fire marshal is reviewing this application with the fire department. They are going to require a fire safety analysis. That is a requirement. I've spoken with the Stan Carey, the chairman of the planning board, and we are not going to proceed with the application until we get that fire safety plan from the applicant and is reviewed by the the fire marshal and the fire department.
Okay.
So nothing is being withheld. There's nothing nefarious happening. It's all being done out in public record. They have to comply with the New York State Fire Code. That is, safety is number one. If it doesn't comply with the fire code, it doesn't get approved. That's the simple fact of the matter of the case. That's true with any building construction before any application that's being reviewed by the town. So we're following the correct steps. The fire marshal reviewed it, as all the other departments did when it first came in. The project has been modified to address those concerns. As it reviews through the review process, an application will become amended to reflect the issues and questions that are being raised by the town board or the planning board, as the case may be.
Okay, so we're gonna speak about this tomorrow.
I just have a question. Can you reach out to the DEC and see if they had to file a short environmental assessment form with the Wild Scenic Recreational Rivers in order to get their permit from the DEC? Because I know that they got a permit from the
They did.
DEC is what they represented at the public hearing.
And they do. We have a copy of it.
And I'm just wondering if they had to do an environmental assessment form or any sort of secret through the New York State DEC prior to that permit being issued.
They would have had to have done it, and it would have to be, when we did the secret, it was a type 1, so we did coordinate with them. Obviously, they had already issued the permit based upon the prior application, so they did had to do a follow a secret review.
Can you try and get us a copy of that, please?
The part 1 and part 2. We issued the part 3, the neg deck.
Yeah, but I'm saying from the New York State DEC, their conclusion on the environmental assessment form that was submitted with the application.
Yeah, make sure it goes to the entire board. That's good, perfect. All right, so we're gonna be discussing this tomorrow in further details. Okay, everybody good? All right, we're gonna move on to public comments. Chip, do we have anyone in the waiting room? How many people do we have? 4 individuals, okay, can you bring one at a time forward?
Why don't you bring John McAuliffe up, Chip?
All right, John, interesting picture you have there of yourself. Is that what you turn into at night?
Oh, chameleon. Is that a chameleon?
Yeah.
Or a tiger salamander?
Oh, it's a
Tiger
salamander?
salamander.
You should know that.
I
There
should
we
know
go.
All
that.
right, joke of the day. How are you?
Okay, so, I wanted to quickly, John McAuliffe from, Rolling Wood section of Riverhead.
Okay.
Quickly to follow up on the discussion you've just had, in reading that story, I must say that one of the more disturbing things was this indication of authorship of an important document, and that in itself might be a justification for reconsideration and bringing this issue back to the board in a public meeting. But just in response to that, I wanted to bring up the story also that appeared about the sand mine. The time sequence wasn't clear whether that's already come to a work session or whether that's to come up tomorrow, but I would hope, as in both of these instances, that the responsibility of protecting the larger interests of the people in the town is addressed. Finally, though I was not supporting Ms. Giglio's candidacy, I would congratulate her for her victory and wonder what the implications are for the vacancy in the town board, and whether that means there will be a special election or how that will be addressed.
Well, one thing you'll be happy about is I won't be able to vote for it, because I won't be here, so.
Right, I'll miss our encounters in important things.
Me too, more than you know. But please know that when I'm in Albany, I'll help you anytime I can.
Okay.
Okay.
So how do you deal with the vacancy question in this
John,
situation?
Yes, we as a board will meet and we will vote on an individual. Okay, very simple.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you clearly.
We will vote on it, we will vote on the replacement. Names will be put forward, people will send in, their desire. Interviews will take place, and we will vote on an individual, us as
Okay,
a board.
well, then I would reiterate, if it is a co-optation, I would reiterate what I said about the attorney question, that I hope that you would take into special consideration the fact that the board could benefit from including an African-American member, and a special effort would be made to find the qualified person to join the board.
John, no one is exempt, everybody will have equal, possibility of coming on board, okay? And then we do have an entire, the board will make that decision. Are you interested?
I would, of course, be interested, but that's not here nor there. I think the board ought to look at it, using this as an opportunity to make itself more representative of the population of the town. And I wouldn't meet that criteria.
Okay. All right,
Thank you, John.
I think you've already got some Irish on the board.
Yes.
A little bit.
Yeah. John, just one thing on the CMA, you asked about the CMA mining, the DEC deemed the application complete, but it's not been approved yet.
But did you already talk about it in the work session, or is that to come up tomorrow?
We talked about it.
yeah, we talked about it,
We did talk about it once.
Let Bob answer.
There was a discussion, in as much as the DEC has issued a notice of completion as well as the neg deck. And we're looking
we
at,
can't go back and forth, right.
potentially hiring counsel
You gotta stop
to bring litigation.
Good, congratulations. I think it's an important, very important issue that the owner of this land not be able to proceed with it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Agreed.
Are you done, John?
Okay. Thank you, John, appreciate the comments. Chip,
Okay, we're not, okay,
we're gonna bring forward,
yeah, 'cause if not, they.
we're gonna
that's
bring
exact-
forward Sharon, who's next in the Zoom room. Just a reminder to all the residents gonna be participating that they'll have 5 minutes to make comments, after which the board can respond, and, if they choose. Oh,
Okay.
she's gone, she left, okay, Sharon left, so who do we have? Oh, Barbara Blass, we'll bring you up next.
Okay.
Barbara, can you hear us?
Well, we can ask, Catherine what she's talking about, right? Because you're usually in touch with her.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Barbara, can you hear us okay?
Yes, can you hear me?
There she
Yes.
goes. Okay.
Wonderful. Good
Okay, you'll
afternoon.
have 5 minutes, thank you.
I'm sorry?
You'll have 5 minutes to make your comments.
Thank you.
And the
Good
board
afternoon,
will-
Barbara Blass. I live in Jamesport. Congratulations, Jody. I wish you the best of luck in your next chapter.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. I would like to address the CMA application as well. There are significant procedural and substantive problems with the application. I did review Part 1 of the FEAF and can state with certainty that it contains inaccurate information and several significant errors and omissions. This mining application presents unique circumstances. There are 23 active mines in Suffolk County, and none of them presents with similar conditions. In fact, I have yet to find a mine excavated into groundwater adjacent to a landfill anywhere in the state of New York. These circumstances are so important that the DEC's standard environmental assessment form specifically asks whether the proposed project is adjacent to an existing or former solid waste facility. Not only is this site adjacent to a former solid waste facility, but there's a transfer station and a recycling facility directly across the street, as well as a disposal area for deer carcasses. We used to call that the deer cemetery.
Yeah.
What documentation did the DEC provide the town to indicate that they sufficiently investigated these potential sources of contamination, and who reviewed the information for the town? According to a report in the town clerk's file, in the event the monitoring wells produced analytical results of concern, an investigation may be initiated and additional wells will be installed. That seems to be woefully inadequate. The town board and the planning board are each involved agencies in this application. What was the extent of the DEC's required coordinated review with the town? Was the planning board asked for input? What substantive documentation was provided by the DEC to support their negative declaration? In the final paragraph of the commissioner's letter of determination of lead agency, he reminds Region 1 that they must remain aware of all potential impacts that have been or which may be identified by the town, and actually directs DEC staff to ensure that the town's concerns are given due consideration. From the date of this letter, which was July 29th, 2020, to the present, has the DEC reached out to this board or the planning board for any input prior to their issuance of a negative declaration? How can we accept that sand, a resource of state significance, is more important than protection of our sole source aquifer? Local controls offer better historical and technical insight into this project, and I urge the town board to do what they must to expeditiously challenge these decisions. And it sounds like you're going in that direction, and I thank you very much for taking that strategy.
Is that it, Barbara?
Thank you.
Okay.
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 She's done with her
So-
comments. Does the board want to comment on that?
I
No?
just wanna say that I did inquire, I did talk to Bob asking if there was a reso moving forward with the CMA, but only because there is a really tight timeline on it. I don't know, I keep hearing different, time frames that I'd like that to be clarified, and, so Bob has assured me that we will be moving forward with it.
Okay. All right, Devin. Anybody else?
Okay, we have two more.
two more.
Phone number ending in 4160. You can hit *6 and unmute yourself. Please state your name and your hamlet, and you'll have 5 minutes to make your comments, after which the board can respond.
Hi there, this is Taffy Turchin,
Hi.
representing Civic today. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So, hello again.
Yeah.
And congratulations again, Councilperson Giglio, on your win last night.
Thank you.
And like John said, we wish you the best in your new endeavors.
Thank you.
My questions are about 8 or 9. They're very quick. Some of them have actually been covered. They are regarding CMA Mine. But before I do that, I want to mention one observation from a neighbor of Breezy Hill property on Mill Road. And she contacted the Civic and she told me that they had started dumping again. So she spoke with the New York State DEC, and they were getting in touch with the legal department because they were supposed to remove material and have a stop work order on the property. She said she also spoke with the town of Riverhead Planning Department, and they sent code enforcement to check out what they were doing. And she wasn't there to be able to see, so she let her family know that if anything happened or they saw any dumping, to call the DEC PD. Because what they're now doing is illegal because they have no permits and a stop work order. Just wanted to bring that to your attention if it wasn't already, and I don't know if it's already been discussed. That information came to me on Monday, 2 days ago. We've had a lot going on, so I don't know if you heard about that. So, my questions on the CMA mines, I think Barbara Blass covered it pretty nicely, and more detailed, I think, than what I have here. But I would like to open a dialogue with the supervisor and the board about the CMA mine project. It's been rubber stamped. It's now poised to proceed, and the alarm is that it's located on Youngs Avenue at Osborne, which is abutting the unlined Town of Riverhead landfill. I know that's already been said. I just want to make sure that it's said one more time. There are substantial contaminants identified and documented in the Town of Riverhead files that are in that unlined landfill. So the real concern is that the contamination from the landfill will find its way into the 100-foot crater produced by this operation. So it seems like a no-brainer, and anybody with common sense would see that it's a potential hazard to our drinking water, and you don't need a fancy degree, my environmental degree, but my questions are, how does the DEC let this slide? Was it inadvertent? What's the town's position with regard to this project? I think that's answered. I believe our town attorney just said that you're going to bring some sort of, hey, they made a decision that you're going to challenge the DEC. I'm curious as to how and what form that'll take. Clearly, you're not fine with this development if that's your position, and I'd like to know what the concerns are specifically, and the actions that you're going to take on the neg deck by the New York State DEC and the notice of complete application. And what is the specific time frame you intend to operate within to get answers, and who will be part of this activity? Is there something our Calverton community can do to help our town fight this development and negligent review by the New York State DEC? And that's it for my questions. Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you. Does the board want to respond
Yes.
before we move on to the next one?
Yeah, yes, and Toki, thank you. We are very concerned, and I directed our town attorney to look into this matter. I also understand that Southampton and East Hampton are under the same predicament on certain designations by the DEC. So this is the new wave of challenging the DEC on their designations and not bringing it to the town. So again, it's being addressed, and you can contact you can email the clerk if you want, concerning a timeline if you want. I don't have one at the moment. This is all fresh. It's new. These designations were supplied to us on October 21st. So it's very, very fresh, and we need to look and see what other towns are doing, and we'll have a game plan.
Okay. So next we have Ed Graham
Oh, Mr. Graham.
in the Zoom
Okay, make sure he
meeting room.
knows what 5 minutes is.
Okay, so Ed, you'll state your name and hamlet for us, please, for the record, and know that you'll have 5 minutes to make your comments. And we can't hear you, Ed, so
Ed,
Works.
again, speaker problems?
we do not have any audio with you. We can see you, but we can't hear you.
And that's a five.
Hold up signs.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear
there
you now.
go. Remember that button for next week, okay, when you come on.
All right,
Okay,
you
Ed,
can
5
hear me
minutes,
now?
go ahead.
All right, Ed Graham from Manorville. I also own riverheadmagazine.com. Want to congratulate Jody there as a registered Republican. I did vote for you. So hopefully you represent the Republicans and the conservatives by preventing the Green New Deal from coming to Long Island and destroying our area. I'm hoping that's the case. But congratulations as well.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to ask, I saw that the two letters that were in the correspondence, 2020-60 and 2020-61, one by Craig Dallerin and one by Barbara Blass. I guess they were just, gone over, but they didn't, nobody read them into the meeting, and there's no link on the website. You can click on the link, it doesn't go to anything, so you can't read the letter. I would like to know what's in that letter. I think the public would like to know what's in those letters. Is there any way to find out what's in those letters? And,
Yes.
I'd like to know those answers, and as well, last time we were on, my microphone, I guess, or whatever, something was going on, and I didn't get a chance to ask follow-up questions regarding the solar farms and their chemical contents. It was stated by some of the solar companies that they don't use cadmium, but I was going to ask what chemicals do they actually have in their panels, because every solar panel has chemicals, heavy metals, including lead. Every single solar panel has lead in it, and they say that it's a minute bit, but when you're putting 1,000 acres and millions of panels containing lead above our drinking water, that should be of concern to those people that are in charge of protecting our water supply. It is above our aquifer, and even though they say it's minute lead, but that's in one solar panel. There's millions of solar panels that go into 1,000 acres of land. So I just wanted to bring that to the board's attention. Hopefully you do your little research on that. And as well, there is no presented fire plan in case these solar farms do catch fire, which has been happening in California right now with the chemical release of all these chemicals. That there is a chemical reaction that takes place when it captures the sun. It actually happens in the panel, and when these panels burn, they actually do give off those chemicals. What is the environmental protection? What does the fire marshal say about how to protect the local community from this chemicals that actually go airborne? As well as there are electrical fires, so you can't put them out with water. You actually have to use chemicals to put the fires out. Firefighters have been electrocuted trying to put out solar farm fires. So is there a protocol? Has anybody even discussed it? Those are things that I would really look into, because if there is a fire at a solar farm and a fireman goes in there, volunteer or not, and actually gets electrocuted, is the town covered for that? Is there, any kind of safety? Because if you look at the NextEra annual reports, I would suggest you look into this 2018, 2017, 2019 annual report for NextEra. They actually say that it's hazmat has to be used in putting out fires, hazmat gear. So I would look into all of this stuff. I mean, I didn't get a chance to explain or have a back and forth with any of the people that were on the last time, but I think that it does raise a lot of questions. And, you know, I would really like to know, like, you know, those letters, how they're read into the meeting, who's gonna find out about it. And Riverhead Local did a nice article with the Civic Association wanting to participate in the master plan, and that should be something that's discussed as well at these public hearings. So, that's my 5 minutes, and just, I don't know if you have any suggestions on how I can find out about those letters.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Graham.
Yeah, so what is he saying, have another one?
He just said he didn't have a chance
Oh.
because his audio.
Okay, so I'd like to add to, Mr. Graham, first of all, you wanted some information and you can easily obtain it by just creating a simple FOIL. Just go onto the, website under the clerk's office, submit what documents you want, and you can get it. Your, concerning the, California fires, we have to, that's not something that you can easily attest to the, solar panels. I can tell you that they arrested 22 people for arson. It belonged to a certain terrorist group, so, and that's something that, we can look into further. I don't think that we should, compare the geographical, lack of rain, fires that are, burning in California and, to necessarily to solar panels, and we have to be careful when we make that statement. Concerning Nextera, we did have the public hearing. You were made aware of it, there was a publication, there was notice made to the public, it was on the town website. And yes, you couldn't go back and forth to question the applicants because you had, if I recollect correctly, you had IT issues and you were coming in and out. Okay, so, it is still open for public comment, and you can, I believe until what day? Remember, I think it's November 13th?
Yeah, I believe it's November 13th that we extended it to.
Yes, so I did extend it for an extra 2 weeks to afford people the opportunity for, to have write-ins and to, communicate with us in that regard. So that is open and you have that option. Does the board wanna weigh in on any of his questions?
I just wanted to mention, he talked about the civics and the comprehensive plan. The civics are gonna be a huge part of the comprehensive plan. We're in the process of working through that now and figuring out how we're going to address it and get it started and bring them into it. So they're a big, big part of it. So they certainly will have a lot to say with it.
Yeah.
And how are you going to do it with the pandemic?
We talked about this. We're probably gonna try to do something out. We may have to eventually grab a couple of people from each civic instead of doing a grand Zoom meeting with everybody. And then give them information, give them questions to go back to their members with, and have their members come back with answers and with questions that they have. Present them to possibly the 2 or 3 people that they identify from each civic group, and then have a Zoom meeting with ourselves and the company that's doing this and the people that are associated with the civics. So we're not gonna be able to obviously have a Zoom with every civic, every member of the civics, but they're gonna have to designate, I think, somebody. I think that, Jefferson, I think that's the best way we figured this could work to get everybody's input. So I think that's what we're gonna try.
Well, one reason I'm asking is because they've been asking me on a couple of my committees. The environmental committee has inquired about it, and the downtown committee has inquired and was thinking you might at some point involve some of the town committees.
Yes, absolutely. Business Advisory also has been asking same thing.
Yeah, Riverhead Chamber as well.
Yes, and the bid, no one is gonna be excluded.
No.
So, you know, just, you know, rest assured that every single, member of our community, how we may contact with you, it may vary.
Yeah, it's
If
just
it's a short meeting, maybe you can have it here.
Right.
However, Zoom, that's the new normal, and, I like the idea that, you know, you came up with, you know, you have the representatives of a group.
Right.
All together, and I'm sure some of them are gonna have very similar concerns.
Oh, absolutely.
So you're not
And their
duplicating
voices will all be heard and entertained.
Absolutely.
It's the way it's supposed to be.
And you know what, in past studies, the civic groups have been a part of it, so there's no reason not to, no.
Right.
Okay, do we have anyone else, Chip?
Jeff,
That's
did
it.
you wanna address
Yeah,
that?
just to, provide the board a little bit of update on the comp plan update, what Tim has said is absolutely correct. We may have, an opening educational Zoom meeting to invite all the civics to come in and to hear what the process is be going forward and what their charge and mission is going to be. I think some education from our end to them is gonna be critically important to get their feedback, so they know what they need to ask of their residents and their community. The second part of it is, we're not gonna be able to go to every single committee, advisory committee, because there's a lot of them, but we do have a central advisory committee. We have a representative from the environment, we have one from the Farm Bureau, we have a couple from the Chamber of Commerce, we have one from the real estate community, we have one from law enforcement and public safety, we have one healthcare, education. We're trying to keep it down to about 10 or so community members that are really represent the key subject areas in the town that are critically important to going forward. When we did the 2003 update, I should say, when you did the 2003 update, there were close to 25 members. You can't run a meeting with 25 members.
No,
So-
Jeff, I was asking if maybe they might, like, have a Zoom meeting maybe where the, you know, the group meets with the environmental committee or meets with the downtown committee, because I think they could add a lot to it.
And they should really reach out to the appointment on the Central Advisory Committee as well, so that he can act as a sounding board back, you know, to the consultant.
Yeah, I think both would be great, that's a good point.
There's gonna be plenty of opportunity. The
That's gonna
pandemic is
be-
obviously gonna slow things down, unfortunately, because having Zoom meetings as opposed to real face-to-face meetings is gonna, nobody's ever done that before in the history of planning for a master plan update. This is the first for all of
Right,
us.
and we're gonna do it.
And we're doing it, we're going forward,
do
it's
it.
just trial and error, so if we stumble a little bit, just understand, this has never been done before, so it's a
We've
new,
been
it's a
doing
new
good.
venture for all of us, so.
We've been doing good with technology. It happened real quick and we're in good shape.
And hopefully things will be, less restrictive and things will be better next year, so we can actually do face-to-face meetings.
Yeah, and you're gonna have public hearings, and you're gonna have, written comment sections, you're gonna have surveys.
Yeah.
So there is plenty of opportunity for
And we're just
input.
starting, we just, starting next week, and be starting the outreach for all the department heads that are listening on this. Please take the phone call, from the consultants, they're the first, people that we're gonna do the questions to, so we're starting now.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you for the update.
We get the questions ahead, no.
All right, anyone else? Board?
I'm ready.
Fine? Okay, thank you, everyone. This concludes our meeting. Can I have a first and a second to close this meeting?
So moved.
Second?
All opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Hey, Jimbo.
Best of luck to everyone and be safe. Thank you.
I was
See you
gonna say
tomorrow at
one
10
more
a.m.
thing and then I-